Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's the deal, Panther fans? It's the C3 Panthers Podcast. And I was getting ready for the show, or mentally preparing, or lack thereof. And I was like, what the heck are we going to talk about? And then I found out there's a ton to talk about. 2 episodes of the Blueprint have dropped.
Panther fans.
Oh, I hear me in the background, somebody.
That's my fault.
2 things have dropped already on the Blueprint. The big ones. The big heavy hitter episodes are out. We've got a really fun talk or discussion to talk about potential logos that existed at one point. And we're live on Rumble? Who knew? Who knew? How? I don't even know. I don't even know how to find it. But I do know you can find the C3 Panthers Podcast live on YouTube every Tuesday night, on Facebook, on Twitter. And we're here hanging out, talking the Carolina Panthers, and just 30 days away from going into the armpit of hell to forge in the kiln of Spartanburg, South Carolina, in the fires of South Carolina, a winning season for the Carolina Panthers in the 2023 training camp. Holy crap, the C3 Panthers Podcast is cooking. Cody Lashney, my sous chef. What's up, my man?
Yes, sir. Listen, man, it's a Tuesday night. I don't care what time of year it is. There's nowhere I'd rather be than right here, chilling with my boys, talking Panthers football, baby. We got some inside access with this Panthers Blueprint. We're going to talk about our free agency signings again, go over those kind of with a fresh set of eyes. We're also going to do the same thing with our draft picks, recapping the Panthers Blueprint. We're going to talk about, once again, turf in Bank of America Stadium. And, bro, this conversation about DeAndre Hopkins will not go away. And you know what? We're going to have those discussions tonight with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. Tony Dunn, you already know him and love him. It's our boy Joey the Blind Panther, C3D's Ill Skills, Harvey London, Hemlock, Hot Pocket 87, My Life, My Story, and my guy Poppin'. What up, Pop? Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Go ahead and smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. Consider joining the C3 Panther Army, or just becoming a C3 super fan for just $1.99 a month. And again, we're 1 month away. CK, we are going to get there, I believe, on a Wednesday, or I believe, and then we got Wednesday, Thursday, day off, Saturday.
Nope.
I think nope.
So we get down there Wednesday. They have the training camp Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. We're off Friday, but they have their back together Saturday, which is going to be at Gibbs Stadium down there.
That's what I said.
No, you said we're off Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, well, I meant we're off Friday. We're there Wednesday, Thursday. And guess what we're going to do, CK? On Thursday, we're going to do a live podcast from Monster Subs in Spartanburg. So you guys, after practice, as soon as we're going to wrap it up, we're going to try to hydrate and run to the car, and we're going to go get lunch and hang out and talk about that second practice. That's a Thursday. That would be, if you could look up the date for me, that'd be fantastic.
That'll be the 27th.
The 27th.
1 month from today.
Well, fantastic. You guys can come hang out with us. Go support just a friend of the show. We're just doing this. Well, we're just blessed that he's going to let us hang out there and get some air conditioning. I hope, man, I'm going to say this. The only thing I ask from my man Muscles Marinara is get that air conditioning ready for me. Greg, welcome back to the C3 Panthers Podcast. We've got some stuff to talk about.
And we've always
got kind of wild.
Yeah, we've always got stuff to talk about, man. In the off season of football, it's crazy because I'm like Cody with this one, man. Like, I've been stressed out all week, dude. It's been such a stressful week, and this right here is the first thing bringing joy to me all week long, and I'm just so happy to be here.
Muscles Marinara is making love to my ears in the chat room, saying it's set at a sweet 69, and I cannot wait. I'm gonna ooh and ah when I walk into Monster Subs a month from now. So you guys jump in the chat, be a part of the community. You can check us out on Discord. You can check out the C3 Army community on Twitter. I can't wait till Twitter makes it a little bit easier to dual tweet to the world and to a community at the same time. So help us continue to drive that conversation there. Go to Rumble if you're interested in counter platforms to YouTube, or just retweet us. Check us out on Facebook. Send us a message. We got a lot of stuff coming up with fantasy football. I've got a big surprise that even the guys don't know about that. I can't just give it away just yet, but the art is being drawn up, and you guys are going to be blown away. Tonight's show, guys, what is it? It's do the Panthers have room for D-Hop? Pull out the blueprints, Cody. Pull out the blueprints. Do we have room for D-Hop? Let's jump into the show, my man.
Yeah, let's do that. So, yeah, we're going to talk about D-Hop tonight. But listen, man, we got some really sad news that just happened recently. And we're going to talk about that a little bit first, man. Very sad news. Ryan Mallett, former NFL quarterback, former quarterback of the Arkansas Razorbacks, drowned at a beach in Florida and passed away today, man. Sad news, kind of came out of nowhere. Shout out to Panther Pickle. He was the first one that told me about it. And, yeah, man, too young, 35 years old. Tragedy, man. There seems to be a lot of water-related deaths in recent months, man. Like, first it was the Bucks player whose little girl drowned. Then we've had all of this hoopla about this Titan submersible going down to the Titanic.
We also had the former Peyton Hillis, who saved his two family members in a riptide.
Mm-hmm.
It's the water sports time of the year, where people, the odds of these accidents
they go up.
Yeah, a ton. And and hopefully we won't have any July 4th accidents coming up. This is just tragic. And I was thinking about this as my wife was the one that told me this afternoon when I got home from work, or this evening when I got home from work. And I was trying to think of where was Ryan Mallett's story intertwined with my football life, in a sense. I was like, at first I didn't remember that he was, I was like, did he play for State? No, not State. Then I was trying to figure out what professional teams he played for before I looked him up. And I'm just kind of curious of why I'm so familiar with his name from a football standpoint in the pros, because really it was that he was in New England at a time where Brady was there. Was he I guess he did some stuff in Houston. Was he just why did we play him at some point? I'm trying to figure out, was it fantasy football potentially? This is such a tragic story, but I just was thinking, where did my football discussion intertwine with him? I think he played one game with the Patriots there.
Yeah, well, he was on the Patriots for a while, and then he went to the Houston Texans. And at that point, I remember the year that the Houston Texans were on Hard Knocks. It was the year before they drafted Deshaun, and there was a quarterback battle between Ryan Mallett and the other dude whose name escapes me right now. What's the ball guy?
Not Jeff Garcia.
Not Jeff Garcia. Man, of course his name escapes me, but he was in a quarterback competition for that starting job, and he ended up losing.
I think he ended up going to New England too. The guy that you're talking about, the ball guy.
Yeah. Hoyer, Brian Hoyer. Yeah, thank you, Sideshow. Yeah, him and Brian Hoyer, they were duking it out for the starting job at the Houston Texans, and I do believe that Hoyer won that job. But he was also a coach at a high school in Florida, Ryan Mallett. And yeah, terrible news, man.
Sad, man. Younger, he is 7 years. You said 35, so
Yeah.
7 years younger than I am. Just awful to hear. So pray for his family. Pray that they find some peace, and be careful in the water, please. We don't like to hear these stories. I want to hear something a little bit more uplifting when it comes to football and the Carolina Panthers, or just people in the world in general. And boy, with the blueprint coming on, we had some real levity, I guess, or for like, this was probably the fun 2 episodes, guys, when it came to the blueprint.
Yeah, I mean, it really gave us a reevaluation of our free agent signings, and it kind of went through them one by one. A lot of different things to take from this, man. And to be honest, it got me excited about a couple of different players all over again. Notably Hayden Hurst and Adam Thielen, and thinking about what they could mean to this offense this year. And, I know we're going to get into a discussion about Adam Thielen. Right now it appears as though he is the leader in the wide receiver room. Like, all the guys are looking up to him. He's imparting his knowledge onto the younger guys. And frankly, that's a good thing, man. They went in depth on Bradley Bozeman, him and his baby boy. And I got to say, one of the things that I do love about this episode is when Miles Sanders is in the room talking to Frank Reich, and he's talking to Scott Fitterer, and he's talking about his prior history with Deuce Staley. And he's like, yeah, I already know Deuce. He's like, I already know. Don't run out of bounds. Don't run out of bounds. That means you're physical. You're playing downhill. You're playing to smack some dudes in the mouth. And I think that really speaks to the mentality that I'm hoping that our players are going to be playing with this season, that dog mentality.
I tell you, this is so I wrote down some notes as I watched this, and the first thing I wrote down was this was a really well put together episode. If you think of from like kind of like a filmography, or not, like from a cinematography stand, the story, or at least the writing of it, moved through so much, and really probably showed in some ways inadvertently or subconsciously the whirlwind that was free agency for this new staff as they were getting hired. And it really moved through these storylines very quickly. Miles Sanders, who a guy I'm really high on in fantasy for the Carolina Panthers, I think has some real good football ahead. I think we're seeing maybe his best football. We might see it this year and next year. He said, I'm ready to put on a show. Bozeman. We know Bozeman. We know the family. We know that they hit you a little bit with the family and the kid angle and the the heartfelt story of him having a family and planting themselves and their excitement about Charlotte. But I tell you what, I walk away. I'm telling you, I don't know if Bradley Bozeman might become like as beloved as a Ryan Khalil was for Panther fans. Like, he
really might. He's on the road to it.
Yeah. I mean, and think about a center, same position too. There was just such a emotional connection and affinity for Charlotte and football fans for Ryan Khalil, and I almost just feel that right away with Bradley Bozeman. And then I thought the Dalton discussion was fascinating. Was fascinating right here is that who was the team that kind of threw their hat in the ring. They gave us a little peek, a little tease that Andy Dalton, that looked like they were really feeling comfortable about making this relationship work. I think it made Frank Reich feel real good that like at the because you don't know you're trading up for the number 1 pick at this point. I feel like is that like it just probably Frank Reich just wanted that, knowing that he wasn't going to just be awful maybe if he had to rock with Andy Dalton. But then another team comes in and is really putting something on Dalton's plate to consider. CK, any thoughts on who this team could be?
Man, the problem I have, I know we don't want to move into episode 3, but after watching the entire slate so far, This team has a feeling of this isn't a rebuild year, right? This doesn't feel like a team that is ready to sit back and wait for success to hit their doorstep. It feels like they are legitimately coming out here. They're putting the pieces in place to allow for a rookie quarterback to come in here and be incredibly successful, and do what he's done in college his entire career and continue to be that guy. I think these free agents have done just that. I think even with the addition to Andy Dalton, it's going to help incredibly with his ability, because now he's got not just Frank Reich as a quarterback in his ear, he's got Josh McCown as a quarterback in his ear. Now you have Andy Dalton, who is a quarterback in his ear. I think this is the additions they've added, just even from the screenshot we have right here, tells me that this team is ready to compete this year.
Cody, the Miles Sanders said that this didn't feel like a blueprint. Somebody brought that up in the chat. But the other thing a rebuild, excuse me. The thing that really stuck out to me, though, after the Dalton, it's not the team part that interested me. It's that how important it was for Dalton to be somehow hitched to McCown. And Frank Reich really saying this is kind of what I did at the back end of my career. It really already feels like it's like, my question was, are they trying to assemble Josh McCown's coaching staff for the future already? Or is Frank Reich plotting to build like the next generation after maybe a Thomas Brown or something moves on? It was like, this is like Dalton chose, I think, between playing football for another team and money, or potentially playing football for the Carolina, and really orienting himself maybe towards getting into coaching.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of future plans that they're laying the groundwork for, the blueprint, if you will. You know what I'm saying? They're looking towards the future, and I think Thomas Brown is going to get his opportunity at OC, and it's going to be interesting because according to what we know right now, Frank Reich is going to be the one calling plays. So normally, if you're going to get a head coaching job, you want that offensive coordinator to have been calling plays. So we might get a year or two, maybe even more, depending with Thomas Brown. But now you already see that pipeline. It seems as though the next logical elevation is to bring Josh McCown up into that role, and maybe one day even Andy Dalton as well. And
what he's alluded to in this episode, by the way.
That's exactly what they were talking about at that moment. And I really think is that a lot of people believe that McCown has the potential to really move up the coaching ladder pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he almost got the head coaching gig in Houston.
Right. Exactly. So you have that. Then there's kind of, and I really think this is McCown's thinking about being involved with these staffs in those types of ways. And it seemed like Frank Reich understood that game. And we also know Frank Reich has been very successful with moving through these assistants who've gone on, whether it be, I think, Sirianni or, some of these guys that have moved out of his camp and then gone on to have great success. Greg, they just moved. I don't know, they just moved. They didn't really spend much time on any single player in this episode, but they just were like this. It was just like quick hitters on a really rapid free agency episode. This episode was 24 minutes. The Blueprint 3 was double that time at like 46 minutes with the draft. When it comes to revisiting free agency, anything that excites you as you think about a Miles Sanders, a Bozeman there, or really, we didn't even talk about the star. Cody, you better bring up this Clemson player.
Yeah.
Deshaun Williams.
I'm excited. You're talking about free agent players we've signed. I'm very excited about those.
That's what this is all about. This was like a recap of what was going on. And for me, it's Booby. It's Booby Sanders here, man. That's like I'm targeting this dude in fantasy football.
Nah, for me, I'll go ahead and tell you, I already know whose jersey I'm buying this year. I'm buying Hayden Hurst's jersey. And then I'm going to go from his Halloween. You know,
Thor.
We
Yeah.
get the-
You
we get the
should.
red
You
beard
could
Yo,
going
I
legitimately-
on.
thought about I thought about you, Greg, when I saw how well manicured and beautiful Hayden Hurst's beard was. I'm
It
like,
ain't
yo,
easy.
that's a beard that the
Mhm.
Bat Daddy can get down with, man.
I want to get a picture next to him. I mean, he's like a foot and a half taller than me, but I want to
You
get a
might
picture
have
next
to
to
get
him.
You
you a
might
box
need to
and
make it
stand
down to the training camp there, Gregory.
I'm planning on it for a couple days, one at least, but hopefully two. So like I
Oh
said, I got
snap!
con
We
that
need to
weekend.
get him at maybe he'll show up to Monster Subs and you
There you
guys can
go.
like have like a Viking sandwich together or something. Cody, they moved on. Yes, they talked about the thing that made me smile the most is the kid from Clemson who he said he'd been
Yeah.
cut 10 times, was working for Amazon. You know how hard. Look, as I know people say that training camp's tough, but I bet you working for Amazon is hard. They're investigating their work conditions in this place. My
Right.
man, he was like this. And the best part is like he's from around, like he knew Panther history.
Mhm.
He former Clemson player. He said he was cut 10 times. And you know a man is after my heart when you talk about Deshaun Foster, that
Oh,
sick
yeah.
tinted
You knew the
mask.
players.
Mhm.
I
You knew
know,
the
he knew
players,
every
man.
one of them.
He's a Panther fan, and I like what you said. Like he feels as though his career has been a keep pounding career.
Yeah.
You just never give up. You keep on fighting until one day you get that opportunity, and you capitalize when your number is called. And it really, for the first time, I really look at this defensive line and this offensive line, and there's depth. Like there's depth on the line, man, on both sides of the ball. And I don't remember the last time that we've been able to say that. I think that's a big time thing that, for a long time, the Panthers haven't had that luxury. If we had one pivotal injury, man, it's like it felt like there goes our entire season. I did want to play one clip from the blueprint. I got it right over here, and it's from a player who I believe is going to have a lot of impact this year for the Carolina Panthers, and I believe he's going to end up being one of our best free agent signings. That's right. I'm talking about Shy Tuttle.
I forget about him until this reminded me about this dude.
And let me tell you, I love what he does in this clip. Let's check it out.
Come on now, I need an answer. How the you get mic'd up now?
We already look. I got a whole group of people hating me already.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hey, make sure you put that camera angle wide.
Some news out there, the Panthers, they're signing former Saints tackle Shy Tuttle, 3-year deal. Shy's big guy, big boy.
I was about to fart, but you ain't want that. I always Bro, I hit you in your face? My bad. Hey, Coach, I mic'd up today.
So you actually might do something?
Hey, this is our D-line coach right here. Pretty much asshole. Never been mic'd up before. How about we practice one bag at a time? Go back.
What?
Yeah?
Hey, you just
You want to play? You want to see me do this?
I want to see you do it better than what you just did. You can't coach everybody hard and then somebody
I
coach
didn't
you.
know. I'm not getting upset.
Okay. You see how his hips turn that way? Your hips still going that way.
I'm trying to flip my head.
Let me tell you, I love that right there. I love holding players to a higher standard. Like that matters, man. It's one thing when you have your superiors coming down on you, telling you to do something, but it kind of feels like that's your boss riding you or whatever. But when it's your own peers telling you, "Hey, you have to be better, man. I mean, you're a first round pick." I mean, I get he didn't say these entire words, but hey, man, you're the man. You're the monster in the middle. You're Derek Brown. You're a top 10 pick. You need to go out there and give it 100% every single rep. And I love that a lot of our free agent signings, they have that veteran leadership. Like, they're not afraid to come in here and tell the players that are already on the team, hey, man, it's going to require more from you. And to that point, I want Derek Brown to have his best season this year. Because if we're going to be paying him top defensive tackle money in the NFL, well, I want him to have the
You
stats,
might be after
the
this
pressures,
year, bro,
and
because
everything to prove it.
Look, I don't know if
it.
you just saw how he looked in that video, just like his physique.
He looks like he's going to be fast as heck.
Like, Derek Brown is about to blow up, it looks like. I think Shy Tuttle is I think he's a guy that belongs on a football, like he in a locker room. He's a dude everybody's going to love. He's funny, like he's serious. But he's having a good time. That's a great clip.
That is, but I'll tell you what, there was one thing that I felt like if I'm a new player to this team and this dropped and my role was what it was, I would have been pissed. They put Von Bell in here, but only to set up his statement about Shaq Thompson and then going to Shaq Thompson wanting to be here and being a team player. Von Bell has such a small part in this.
I know.
Like, I just don't understand. Like, I felt like that was one of our bigger signings in the offseason.
You better hope he has a bigger role in the defense than he did in this episode of the Blueprint.
Right. Yeah. So I was baffled by the fact that he only had one line, and that was, I've watched this defense from afar, especially Shaq Thompson, and that was it. And then it went into Shaq Thompson's role in this whole thing. Which, by the way, if you watch the blueprints, there is a strong belief that Shaq Thompson is a big part of what our defense is. And I think that him coming back after watching this, I think it's hard to argue that he's going to have an impact on this defense.
Can I throw a little water on this blanket?
Do it.
Thanks, Greg. Go ahead.
I'm with all y'all, and I'm excited. I am too, but about everything we're hearing, everything we see, and I think that we're going to do well this year. But every single podcast I listen to that has to do with the NFL that is has Carolina as like the 29 through the 32nd team as far as ranking positions, overall how they're going to finish, what they're going to do. Remember when they wanted us to get Bryce Young because he was the best thing out there. Now nobody's talking about that, and everybody thinks we're going to be crap this year. Now that doesn't mean it's going to be true, but I don't think that they're that wrong. I don't think we're going to finish 29th through 32nd, but with them thinking that, I don't think it's going to put us as in a top 10 spot.
Cody, I'm not letting them bait us into this because then Cody and I are going to argue over whether or not we deserve more credit or if it's an unknown or if we're better than they are, if we're getting disrespected. This and that is there are real arguments for all of those positions. There's real arguments for being optimistic about this squad. There are real arguments about having some pause in potentially how much excitement you're going to have. And then you are going to continue to be hit with those storylines, but that's fine. That's fine because this is a squad that's not going to win now. They can't win the headlines now with this. Is Shy Tuttle going to go out there and win the headlines? Yeah. Derek Brown going to win the headlines for the Carolina Panthers? Yeah. They can't. Bryce Young, his little diminutive stature, you can't win right now. But when they get on that field and they start producing, they can potentially win over. And Cody, we got to go to the final part, the big part. You asked about this, is about the veteran leadership that they're bringing in. And a significant part of, not as significant, but they finished ultimately with talking about one of the bigger names or more known names, Adam Thielen, who looked very charismatic out there, very confident. And also they did juxtapose him by the young gun, DJ Shark. And you had Adam Thielen doing all of this hard work. He said, man, I feel like I'm about to throw up. And Shark's looking at him. Shark looked like a little baby child over there. Like, man, I can run for 2 more years. I thought we were going to play 7 more rounds of tag, Dad. He was like, what are you talking about? You're about to throw up. I want to know this is after watching this and you look at what we've heard about Adam Thielen the tactician, I mean, you know, them hands are straight. You saw some of that, like, is that you see all the touchdown catches.
You don't drop nothing.
Can this guy win in a chess match can the old hat play the type of game that produces? Can he be savvy? Or after watching this, did you go, man, he says a lot of cool stuff, but he looks slow?
Tony, Adam Thielen might fuck around and have his best season here in Carolina.
Let's hear it.
I'm really saying that. And the reason why is because there's a bunch of people that say that Adam Thielen is our number one wide receiver. Bro, no, the fuck he's not. He's not. I'm sorry. The guys that are going to be getting a majority of the receptions, like downfield, and the primary target, I feel a lot of the times, is going to be Terrace Marshall Jr. or Jonathan Mingo. You're not going to be able to game plan for everyone with all the physicality and all the talent that we have at the receiver position. Plus, let's also remember, the man is dynamic in the red zone, doesn't drop nothing, gets the ball out of his hands. This guy is going to be Mr. Reliable for the Carolina Panthers this year. You add on top of that the leadership ability and him taking players in that receiving room under his wing, kind of teaching them the nuances and the ins and outs. I think Adam Thielen is a perfect addition to this team. He doesn't have to be the fastest right now. The man is nuanced in his route running, and the man doesn't drop anything. Okay, you could throw Stone Mountain at him, and he would catch it right in his hands and run to the end zone. Like, that's how good this dude is. I'm excited about the prospects of what Adam is going to be able to do this year.
You just got to, I'm all about that. It's like, it's just going to look out can you win at that position by being savvy? Can you produce deep into your career when you lose the step, right? Can you become the next iteration, maybe what Jericho Cotchery became in a certain case, or Ricky Pro.
Larry Fitzgerald is again, we've talked about it. I've talked about it. Like, that is the best case scenario. And when you look at his age, I mean, how old is Thielen?
33, I think.
How old was Larry Fitzgerald when he retired?
But Larry Fitzgerald, though.
Dude, no.
I mean, he was one of the great. He was like,
he was, but so is Adam Thielen. He broke records with with who was it? Oh gosh, before it was Kirk Cousins. It was he ended up going to Buffalo. He was like a perennial backup.
Tyrod Taylor?
No. Gosh,
Sam
I can't
Bradford?
remember. Somebody's going to be able to tell us you're gonna absolutely think it's ridiculous when you see that, when somebody puts it in the chat. You know they're going to. I just cannot think of his name. But Adam Thielen broke records that year with a perennial backup quarterback. Like, that was not the dude is a fantastic player, and he has maintained at a high level for a long time in this league. So I'm not saying that he is Larry Fitzgerald. Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Yes. That year he came out and he destroyed, and he has been consistent ever since, even going with having all these other receivers intended to replace him. He's still produced at a high level. I'm not saying that he is Larry Fitzgerald, but he's damn sure close.
Larry's bigger than we thought, too, man. He's bigger than we thought.
Well, yeah, he is.
Thielen or Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I thought he was like 5'11", 5'10".
No,
Dude,
he's a big guy.
Yeah,
he's
a big
6'3".
dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I love that. What? You thought he was little?
Yeah, I thought he was like 5'11", 6 foot.
What?
Yeah,
that's the whole
how
point. He's
like
a possession receiver.
So our entire receiving core is 6'2" and above.
CK, if he turns out to be half of Larry Fitzgerald, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald, when he was 33 years old, this was 2016. My man had 107 catches, 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He then went on the next year to have 109 catches, 1,100. Larry Fitzgerald is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Easy.
Oh yeah, no
It's
doubt.
like incredible. His stats. He had a collective 17,400 yards receiving, 121 touchdowns. Man, he might as well. He might. How long do you have to wait? You got to be out of the league 5 years. Is that what it is?
Something like
yes.
that. Yeah.
Five
He
years.
retired. His last year he played was in 2020. This dude's worst season in his whole career. This is insane. He was 37. He still had 54 catches at 400 yards, 409 yards.
Golly.
This dude had
Who's the man?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 1,000 plus receiving yard seasons in his career. That's insane, man. Larry Fitzgerald, applause right there.
Yeah.
He destroyed the Panthers, man, a couple of times and didn't like that. Thielen, is he savvy or slow? We'll be excited to see that. And to the final part of episode 2, I got to say, boy, they had T-Bone. They had Mac from WFNZ and T-Bone's voice in there. They had Adam Gold from Raleigh, 99.9 The Fan, I believe, is what his show comes on. Real big Canes guy. And the first thing I thought, and I don't want to put myself up with a guy beside Mac, who, you know, and these guys who are, but I was just like, is there a day, one day, when the blueprint has Cody and Tony and the fellas being like, we're so excited about this offseason, guys. Can you believe what we got? Man, holy cow. Maybe they'll have you on next year at the final, and they'll be like, this could be Adam Thielen's greatest season of ever.
I mean, you never know.
It, man.
Hey,
I would love it. That'd be dope.
Let me ask, would y'all rather have Adam Thielen at 33 or the chosen one right now?
DeAndre Hopkins?
No.
Chosen one.
Robbie Anderson. That's his.
No.
Yeah.
Thielen 1,000.
Man. I don't
Robbie
think
Anderson would
Robbie
kill for what's his name? Larry Fitzgerald's last season stats.
Yeah.
Kill for that.
Robbie Anderson. You know, you're going to start to wonder if that guy makes the Dolphins.
He probably will, man. He's a piece of garbage.
Well,
though.
you're worried about Tyreek Hill potentially. He's in this trouble, right? The guy's suing him for assault or whatever, trespassing on his boat and things like that. But I tell you, that Miami team, boy, they just speed everywhere on that team. Robbie and man, like their wide receiver core.
Yeah,
like Robbie's even like, damn, I feel slow out here.
A lot of speed brings a lot of injuries, though, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If all you
I mean,
are
I don't know,
fast, you
man.
injure yourself quickly.
I don't know. You have listen. Tyreek Hill is one of the fastest people on the planet. And he's been in this league for I don't think he's been hurt at all in his entire career. Robbie Anderson really hasn't been hurt.
He sucks, yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to keep in mind he's still got a pretty good workload up there in the Jets. You know, there's I don't think speed necessarily results in a faster drop off. Now, the only thing that I would agree with, I mean, by the way, Ted Ginn didn't have injuries either. You know, he just had the case of the dropsies was his biggest thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the speed, outside of the fact when people get older, they lose their speed. And if that's all you're relying on, then you're certainly not as valuable. But from an injury perspective, I think you could probably look at the history of smaller receivers and say that there's probably no correlation between size and injury.
Those guys are super fast too. Super
I
fast.
feel like the hamstring injuries are prevalent with the speedsters.
Yeah.
You know, because they run so fast and they put a lot of pressure on their legs. But again, it's all about how you treat your body. And some guys are just more injury prone than others.
Yeah.
You know?
And look, we got a guy on this team right now. Our speed guy is a guy who has struggled with injury, and that's DJ Shark. So you're looking at those things. I'm still interested as we continue to prepare for fantasy football season. And we want to hear some feedback about if we get the C3 Superfan Fantasy League, the big one, back together. If you guys are interested in joining that, particularly, I got some cool ideas about some of the gear that would come with it. So let us know, chat, phone calls, text messages, wherever you are, if you're interested in joining the C3 Fantasy Football Challenge. It's bigger than just a regular fantasy football league, but it's fun. Oh, yeah. It is fun. DJ Shark is one of those guys. I think Miles Sanders, man. I'm telling you, Miles Sanders is about to be a guy that maybe he don't have the biggest year in like the whole NFL or something, but like he's gonna put up 80, 85 yards a game. 7, you know what I mean?
85 yards a
Like,
game is 1,100 yards a season?
Yeah.
Or more than that. Now we have more games.
I'm telling you, this is what's gonna happen. I think he's gonna be a real fantasy football play. All right, Cody. Episode Trace, I believe, is up next.
Yes, sir.
This episode was all about the big news. The big
All
news.
about the big news, man. And this is all about. So basically, if you've been paying attention, episode 1 went over the coaches. Episode 2 went over free agents. And then episode 3 recapped our entire draft. And obviously, it started with Bryce Young. And one of the things about about the blueprint this episode, it showed Frank Reich. He goes to the front of the meeting that they're having about draft picks, and he talks about the things that he saw from Peyton Manning and the 5 traits that he deemed as elite level quarterback traits.
CK, will you read them off to us real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, CK.
In that beautiful voice of yours.
Yeah.
Nice voice, yeah.
So, number 1 on his list was toughest guy on the team. He wants his quarterback to be able to be a leader, and power through and just be tough. The other, a lot of these, by the way, are no brainers. I don't know that he's bringing anything new to the table with his 5 traits of a quarterback, but he's also reciting this from being a Peyton Manning observer, right? Having been with the Colts during Peyton Manning's best career years, right? He says footwork and finish. He talks about accuracy. You want to have that thread the needle, be a pinpoint it, drop it in a bucket. He says playmaking ability. He wants to have them, even when things are off kilter, to be able to still find a way to make something happen, whether it's with their legs or with their arm. And then he just talks about the X factor. And I think when they talked about that, and this is before they decided to go with Bryce Young, this was them him talking to the scouts and telling the scouts what their, his belief is that made Peyton Manning so great. I think this is a very generic thought process. I don't think that you can look at any of the people that were potentially top on the list of quarterbacks and say that none of them, or that any of them don't have all of those in their repertoire. Maybe Anthony Richardson, but Bryce Young and CJ Stroud checked off every one of those boxes. But if you haven't watched it, guys, I am telling you that Blueprint episode 3 gives you an incredible insight into what their mindset was. And if it doesn't get you excited for what they see out of Bryce Young, there's nothing else that I can tell you that's going to get you excited. It's definitely worth a watch.
It definitely is. And it also implies that all of those traits they saw from Bryce. They, the footwork, the threading the needle, the toughness. Say what you want about his size, man. When that guy got hit at Alabama, he would bounce right back up. He has that leadership ability. He has those intangibles, and he really has everything that Frank Reich was looking for. Go ahead, Greg. I think you wanted to say something.
No, I was just going to say, talking about those 5 traits, like you said, CK, they're very generic. It's almost like saying, what are you looking for in a woman? Well, I want somebody who's beautiful and can do this. And it's just the easiest thing to say. It just sounds like coach speak to me.
Yeah.
There's nothing significant about anything said there. It's like, well, yeah, of course you want. Some of them are kind of like the toughest guy on the team. I disagree with that. I don't think your quarterback should be the toughest guy on the team. I want my linebacker or defensive lineman to be the toughest guy on the team. So it's kind of just how you feel.
I think tough isn't necessarily a matter of physicality, but mentality.
I agree. I still think I want my linebacker or my defensive end to be the toughest guy on the team, to be truly honest with you.
But you also don't want your quarterback to be a pussy either.
Well,
yeah, you want the dude to be you want him to be able to stare down 3rd and 20 and still be able to drop back with pressure in his face and deliver the ball downfield, right?
Let me tell you this. This is what I would. This is, even if you want to think about it from a physically tough. Here's why I agree with this being the most important piece to him. The number one thing is, if your linebacker gets hurt, does it impact your team that much if he doesn't get back up and play in that next rep? Or are you going to be able to fill his spot at least temporarily for 3, 4, 5 plays, right? Whereas if your quarterback gets hurt and he has the ability to play, you're going to say, I want you to be tough. I want you to be out. Because if Bryce Young comes out of there and you have to replace him with the backup, I'm not saying Andy Dalton can't do it. I'm just saying it's similar to like when we saw Cam come out for injuries and they put in Heineke. We weren't super excited about that, right? But like,
Fair point.
I think that's where the toughness comes in. Is like if they can power through even when it's easy to quit, I think that it's easier for them to let go of a linebacker off of the field for even if it's just a few plays than it is to let go of a quarterback.
Very good point. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking about it like that. I mean, yeah, I could argue that having certain players out on defense, like a big defensive end, like the reason that players like Von Miller won the Super Bowl for the Rams a couple years ago. If you replace him with somebody else, it's not there. But you're right. With a quarterback, it has to be more consistent. Every offensive play, I need the quarterback to be tough. I concede that point.
When did the episode 3 drop?
Today.
Okay. What time?
6.
Probably 6 o'clock.
6. Okay. So I was watching it when we were getting ready. I didn't even get up to the computer till 8 o'clock. And I was watching on like 1.5 speed on YouTube.
Right.
And then I started jumping around just to get what I needed to, hopefully, to talk about in the show. How much did they star power Bryce Young, in your opinion, as a highlight him as a person, player, as a feature piece, as that kind of star power? A lot of the stuff I saw early was really about the discussions behind the scenes. So was he a real feature as a personality in this episode, or was it more about how the Bryce?
Well, one of the things that they reiterated that we've heard our coaches say multiple times now is that he blew up the draft process. Like whenever they interviewed him, the level of details and the way he was able to relay information and go through things, it was second to none. And there's a cool clip. So they're at Panther Stadium for the reading of the pick, and all the fans are in the stadium. Jake Delhomme is out there. Ikem Ekwonu is out there. And after they make the pick, Frank Reich goes up on stage and addresses the crowd and said, "We got the best quarterback in all of college football."
Yep.
And he really drove that home. Like we just drafted the dude, man, like the guy that you want to be leading your franchise. And it really does let you know that they're excited about this whole experience. And again, they also reiterated that originally their plans were never to move up to number 1. They were going to let the Texans trade with the Bears to move up 1 spot. The Bears were going to go to number 2. And then from there, the Panthers were going to trade with the Bears to move up to number 2. Eventually, the Texans just kept on pushing it until Fitter and the guys said, "You know what? Let's see what it costs to go up to number 1." And they did it, and they feel like they got the best quarterback in the entire draft.
Yeah, no, it's and here's the thing. There's a part of me that is somewhat skeptical on a couple of things, because you get the feeling that they are upplaying how much they like. That makes you feel like they didn't really believe it was close, right? It was Bryce Young the entire time. You know what I mean? And but the other side of this is, if it was really not that close, then they wouldn't have even entertained moving up to 2, because then they would have believed that they weren't getting the guy that they really see as being the number 1 guy. Like, if you believe that there was that big of a gap between the 2, you would have wanted to move to 1 from the get-go. And it just didn't seem like that was as much of a priority at first. But it could also be that it wasn't worth getting rid of DJ in order to be able to move up to 1 if they could get 2. So I have to try to figure that out. But if you're taking their word for it, man, again, based on the way that they approached Bryce Young and what they said about him, I don't think that it was close.
Yeah.
Do you think that if another team that was quarterback hungry, like the Texans or somebody, would have moved up to 1 instead of us, that Bryce Young would have still been the number 1 pick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I do.
And you think he was head and shoulders above everybody in most people's opinions?
Well, all of the rumors were that the Texans were enamored with they were enamored with Bryce.
CJ Stroud or Bryce.
How do you
Bryce.
say that to get us to not pick Stroud? This is all a mental game. This is like
because
chess,
here's the thing: is I don't think that what another team says is impacting what we want. I think when you think about, they're sitting down in the combine, right, and they get to sit there and have these guys go through plays and to really illustrate how smart they are and how they can read coverages and things like that. You can say all you want if you're the Texans, but you sat down with this guy and you've watched the film, and you've watched the film on both of them. You talked to both of them. And I'm not saying CJ Stroud can't be good. I'm not saying he's not smart, but I think when you're talking about from a knowing football intelligence level, I don't think it's very close between him and Bryce Young. And so from an interview perspective, I think that they're like, Bryce Young blew it away. I think from a film perspective, Bryce Young was maybe just a little bit ahead of CJ Stroud. But when you combine the two, I don't think it made it. I think it made it a very easy decision between the two of these guys.
Yeah. And I think it was going to be Bryce no matter who was picking at number 1. So, but Tony, the real interesting info, like Bryce was kind of whatever, we know at this point, but all of the information that came later, like I felt like picks, 2 through 4, I found out some really cool new shit from the blueprint, right? So let's go to pick number 39, right? Round 2. What we learned from this is that the Carolina Panthers were targeting 3 people at number 39. The players that they were targeting was Derek Hall, the outside linebacker from Auburn. It was also Matthew Bergeron, the offensive guard from Syracuse, and Jonathan Mingo, the guy that we drafted wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Now, according to the blueprint, they said that Jonathan Mingo was their number 1 pick. That if they, between those 3, they wanted Jonathan Mingo. However, the natural order of the draft made it easy for them, because we're picking at pick 39. At number 37, the Seattle Seahawks draft Derek Hall. So now they're down to Bergeron or Jonathan Mingo. And then the Atlanta Falcons traded up where the Raiders were drafting 1 spot ahead of us. And then they draft Matthew Bergeron. So it's almost kind of a little bit like, a little bit of
fortuitous.
Fortuitous, but also maybe a little bit of maneuvering by the Falcons. Maybe they knew somehow that we had been favoring, that we liked Bergeron. But and then it comes to 39, and essentially, due to how the order of the draft fell, we ended up getting Jonathan Mingo. And as we all know, Steve Smith had called Dave Tepper. Dave Tepper asked Steve what he thought, and he said draft Jonathan Mingo. And I felt like that was a great insight, because a lot of fans, like at the time, I was disappointed that they didn't draft an edge rusher. A lot of people wanted B.J. Ojulari, who was still on the board off of LSU, and he wasn't even in consideration with the Panthers at 39. Like, his name never came up. So I felt like that was interesting. The Panthers were either going to go defensive end, offensive guard, or wide receiver with their 39th pick.
And it wasn't the Clemson guy.
What do you mean? What Clemson guy?
Right? Wasn't LSU. Ojulari.
LSU, yep.
So it was like that, like you said, is that while they were interested in those positions, they weren't interested at any player at those positions either, though. It was certain players at that position. And it was fortuitous fate. Mingo. Wait until we get the Mingo card. I got it already queued up, folks, man. Don't worry. We got big surprises for you coming up. Training camp. I got to do this, actually. We need a t-shirt idea for training camp. I think if we could just whip it together, like I survived Spartan hell, or I survived the armpit of Hades, Spartanburg. We're gonna have to start coming up with some.
I can do that.
But the problem with this is, why didn't I think of this idea 10 years ago?
Yeah, right.
Because this is probably the last year that will be in Spartanburg, you would think. And unless they strike another deal to find another way to
They better get something done.
build a practice facility somewhere. But man, then it would just be vintage after this year. So we're gonna have to come up with that. Come up with a t-shirt idea for that. All right, what's up next?
So, well, hold on. We gotta go through these draft picks because we found that there was some interesting tidbits relating to all of them. Right, DJ Johnson, they had known that they were going to move up. So there's a part in the blueprint where Frank Reich goes up to Dan Morgan and Scott Fitter and says, hey, before y'all leave, go into my office and look at the whiteboard. And they had already written on the whiteboard that they had intended to trade up from where they were picking in the third to be able to move up somewhere around pick 80. Well, it ended up being very fortuitous because that's what ended up happening. There ended up being a run on defensive ends. So they felt like, hey, if we have conviction on this one player, if it's DJ Johnson, we need to go and get him now. So they kind of knew what they were going to do before it even happened. I guess they kind of predicted that there would be a run on pass rushers. And, DJ Johnson ends up being the pick for the Panthers in the third round. They love his athleticism. They love his physicality. Now, when it comes to our fourth round pick, Chandler Zavala, I really like this, Tony. I don't know if you saw this part, but I think you'll like it too. Chandler Zavala, the day before, had sent Scott Fitterer a text message before they had the chance to draft him. He said, hey, don't forget about me. I want to wear the black and blue, and I want to go play next to Icky. And he literally, texted this. He texted
as they were talking about him, by the way.
As they were talking about him, they texted him. And by the way, this is the day before he was even drafted. So Fitterer doesn't respond back to him because he doesn't want Zavala or his agent telling another team, hey, we're going to draft Chandler Zavala, or they're going to draft Chandler. If you want us, you better, they didn't want any information to get out of there. But sure enough, the next day, they saw that Chandler Zavala was still on the board. And everybody's like, yo, this is the dude. James Campen loved him. And they end up picking Chandler Zavala. How about that? Have you ever heard that? A player sending a text to an organization and saying, hey, man, I want to be there. Don't forget about me.
We should hear more of it, actually. Someone wrote in the chat that, Sideshow Rob, he said,
appreciate the text.
Fitter said that he appreciated the text or that. And if you think about like when you're interviewing people for a job and the small things that make a difference, right, is like so many people are qualified when you interview for a job, and there's particularly in this world where everything is so competitive. Yeah, everybody's got the same qualifications. It's these very small things that set you apart, right? So yes, that's why you always want to build your resume. That's always you want to like do as much as you can, but it's the soft skills that really, make a difference. And man, if like that wanting, that desire to be there, to show that matters to him as much as it's not just us talking about it on the podcast anymore.
Right.
Right. Is that we have been, what did we say? When Zavala gets drafted, the media coming, the familiarity between this guy and Icky. And we're sitting there, we're just like all over this connection. But it's wonderful to hear that that's important to him.
Yeah, I think I think it says something about when you're on the offensive line, the chemistry with the guys next to you matters more than people realize. right? There's a level of communication and spoken communication between guys. And when you can have a long history of working together, I think that works out incredibly well, which is why I think that it was so important that they got Bozeman back. That's why, and keep in mind, I know we talked about it, Bozeman was listed as the number one priority this offseason for re-signing to the team. And that tells you about consistency at that position and that line. So I think, having Zavala interested in us, I think we had an equal amount of interest in him. They look like they would be upset if they didn't get Zavala. Like they were talking about that. They said, would you be upset if we traded back and we missed out on Zavala? And Fitz said, yes, I'd be upset.
Man.
And that was before they picked him.
These shows are made for podcasts like us and for and fans. This is what we're starving for at this moment. And thank God, great timing for the Panthers in releasing this. I wonder how many other teams are dropping their stories in the background. Did they have anything about
I think a lot of them are doing it because that's why Hard Knocks isn't really we talked about this. Every team is kind of doing their own version of Hard Knocks, and this is kind of like that.
Yeah, but Hard Knocks does the training camp, and you get the storylines, like you follow them home, and like Hard Knocks is certainly in a world of its own. But I think what they're doing is they're taking a play out of the playbook of Hard Knocks and giving you an inside look that we don't normally get, because Hard Knocks is unfortunately is a popularity contest. That's one of the reasons the Panthers haven't been on that. Amongst other things, we haven't been eligible in a lot of ways in many of these, but there's been seasons where we have been eligible and they still passed us over for people like Dallas, because you're going to get more views that way.
Sure,
we weren't.
Sure. But this is a new era right now, CK, which is awesome. Is like, I agree with you. Is Hard Knocks is and that's why it's nice to have it by a third party, because it is, even though they have a relationship that is going to try to make the NFL look in a good light, they also have an ability to put a little journalistic type spread on it, while instead of it just being a PR story.
Right.
But here's the thing: is that and then we'll give this is a good time to actually give kudos to Greg for the hooking us up and putting us on Rumble right now, which is, he's very excited. He's been messaging in the background is that there's over 20 people watching. Now, I am one of the people. I got it streamed on my phone, so I am one of those 21. But we're making noise on Rumble. I'm hoping that, we're making a little noise. Longest running Panthers podcast on the internet. First and foray into the Rumble world here.
First Panthers podcast on the Rumble.
Yeah.
Rumble, young man, Rumble.
So
and I will tell everybody it takes a little while to verify, so just bear with it. Once you verify, you can go in there and then you can be live in the chat.
And yeah, by the way, if you are on Rumble, let us know, man. Get in the chat. Show us some love. Tell us what you're thinking, man.
But this is like, it shows you the kind of Rumble is just one more piece in this growing ability to constantly be out there and control your own narrative. Like, we're controlling ourselves. We're creating this podcast from scratch. So here's the thing: is it's almost like, why are these teams doing this faster than we are? Like, where have the teams been on this coverage? And maybe why aren't they expanding it and becoming just media? They're billion-dollar organizations. If we can get up here on Tuesday nights and do this, they could put together a production that follows the whole team. And we're sitting here talking about it. They have the video capability, the all of that, the inside access. Maybe I need to be a consultant.
You got to keep You got to keep in mind, and this is, I know we're getting off track, but there's from a business perspective, there's a difference between having an audience of Carolina Panthers fans and an audience that watches HBO. Right. That is a much larger, you're talking about better, like, you're going to have a larger staff that's going to be able to follow around more players, more cameras, more high quality cameras, more microphones. You're talking about drone shots. You're talking about production meetings. You're talking about a lot more investment in that production than what the Panthers would be able to do that themselves. So I agree. I think they have access, but I don't think they nearly have the ability to be as intimate as Hard Knocks is.
Yeah, well, maybe Hard Knocks just has the ability to do it on the fly, right? Or not on the fly, but they've got the infrastructure so there. But if you're a $1 billion organization, you're not lacking the resources to do this. And we've seen now with drone stuff. I mean, they could hire you can bring in CK to do the drone. We could do all this. Like, is that what I'm saying is it's just these teams need to could be like just these mega, I don't know, like maybe what the Kardashians do this. The Kardashians, which I think they just got a new show on Hulu or whatever, one of them. So it's not, and I never watched any of these, but I heard someone say that they were like just open to like filming their entire lives. Like they're just going to do this till they're the 70s and create this archive. Right? Is like the Panthers could just be dropping all types of things in the offseason about this past year. They could do their own Amazon type show. They could do all of this. Hell, if what's his name can film Clerks for $500,000, I think Tepper can get together in this day and age and whip together a film crew to follow around this all season and put together some really cool stuff. Using hit film even.
But the question is, what would be the ROI, the return on investment? It's got to be worth it.
An advertisement. Yeah, I think you could find. I think you could find a. How they have the training camp, sometimes sponsored by Lowe's, and they'll do like a whole like setup out there and whatnot. I think if you were talking about doing something like that, I think you could have a sponsor, to be able to fund it and there be some ability. I think there's the return on investment is similar to like selling shirts, right? They're gonna have to put some money in, you're gonna have to put some money in.
I don't think it's a no-lose thing,
right? I think if you break even, it's still a win because you're going to be able to get exposure to people who maybe don't have a team, or maybe young people who haven't quite gotten entirely into football, but maybe something like this would throw them over the edge. I get to see who Bryce Young is. I get to see who these other players are. And I think it's a net positive for these players as well, because then you're going to see people wanting to go out and buy jerseys. Like after watching that Blueprint episode 3, I'm like sitting here like, I think I need to get a Bryce Young jersey.
Oh, I already got mine. I already got mine hanging up behind me, man. I jumped on the Bryce jersey train.
I don't even think I would look at it like return on investment, Cody. I would be like, this is that not putting that investment in would almost be silly, because really you're thinking of as we've seen now 2 organizations be sold in the last 5 years or whatever it is, right? Since we witnessed the sale of the Carolina Panthers. Now you have the Commanders, and you just look at the natural growth of that asset, like a home just sitting there. And the more you just remodel that home, you're just growing the value of that company and the brand itself. And you almost don't even need these people anymore. Like, you don't need the radio to be following you. You don't need ESPN. You can become your own conglomerate where you do this and then start now. You know what you could do is start dovetailing that to get people involved or interested in the soccer crap. Do like, oh, hey, we're doing this for the soccer, the MLS team, or whatever the next foray that there is. They need to make us consultants. Come on, guys, Panthers.
Hey, and real quick, can I bring up, we have our first super chat of the night, and it's actually on Rumble.
What?
Zesty D on Rumble donated $1. We got a few people rolling in the chat room right now. I guess some stuff's starting to get approved here. He says, we're going to run through the South for years to come. Also, Peters is greater than Hopkins. We are deep in wide receiver. Thanks for streaming on Rumble. You guys were the only channel I followed on YouTube still.
Holy moly.
So,
look at that's incredible.
Shout out Zesty, man.
Thank you, Zesty D, for the $1, man. First $1 on Rumble.
We would highlight it, but StreamYard hasn't quite gotten that capability with Rumble yet. Maybe at some point.
Send your emails to StreamYard. Let them know, man.
Yeah, get us up there, man. Look at this. I'm excited, like I am.
21 people watching on Rumble right now. That's pretty impressive.
23. Yeah.
All right. So what's speaking of Hard Knocks?
Yeah, boys.
We're gonna be on it.
We are gonna be on it. Like a de facto being on it. So it was announced that the New York Jets, they're basically being forced to do Hard Knocks because no one wants to do it. They were even thinking about hitting up the Detroit Lions again. But no, I mean, they basically are forcing this on the New York Jets. And the New York Jets are going to be coming down to that Spartanburg heat, baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, listen.
I'm dying to know about this Jets team, dude. I'm so excited. Right when Hard Knocks feels like it's like going to not matter anymore. I think all of a sudden we're going to fall at the Jets. Man, think of Saleh. Saleh, maybe. Yep. What if Saleh actually has, Robert Saleh has some personality? Like, just even if he's got half the personality that the Lions coach has, and then you get hippie, damn Aaron Rodgers tripping whatever and mushrooms he's tripping and doing whatever these crazy, like not crazy, but like, hey, just coming out of his dark cave. There are so many. I'm in. I'm tuning in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm tuning in too. And the only point I wanted to make, this is going to be the hottest training camp. And I'm not just talking about temperature, baby. We got the number 1 overall pick. We got the Jets coming to town with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, and by the way, Bryce Young modeled his game after Aaron Rodgers. So this is like synchronicity, man. I personally think it's beautiful. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I think the thing that's going to be interesting is that Jets preseason game, I think, is going to be extremely valuable. I'm not going to say for a preseason game, I think the tickets are going to sell pretty quickly now, knowing that Hard Knocks is, I'm going to be a part of I'm going to be there and actually in the audience while Hard Knocks, does their whole documentary thing and whatnot. I think that's going to be a special thing to be able to be a part of.
Yeah, buy the DVD, man. Say you're a part of it. That's the way to do
it.
You know, like I was here. I did that. I went to a wrestling event one time. I sat front row for the Tribute for Troops. And I was in the intro for like 3 years. It was great. And I bought the DVD of the thing and everything. It was awesome. Just so I could say I was there. Did I lose somebody?
Nope.
Okay.
Tony, you're muted.
I'm muted.
I'm okay.
Here talking.
I was like, wait a second.
We've got more news and notes to talk about. But before we do, don't forget, 1 month from now, we'll be in Spartanburg. Come hang out with us. And in what is going to be the very beginning of a something I hope is forged in fire, like a hardened steel, this new era of Carolina Panthers. CK, speaking of new things, when it comes to, I'm sitting here pitching them trying to get together a film crew. This is what the Carolina Panthers come up with. We got to sell tickets. Did we have to do these tickets to training camp cost money now? Or
no, they're free. They're free. They're free. They're basically, okay. I don't know the specifics behind it, but I think it's intended to not overly to create too much
order.
To maybe create a little bit more order. Maybe not have as many people there as they had in years past. Potentially, I don't know. I think that there's a sense of anxiety that comes from going to a first come first serve type of a situation like that.
It's always been that way to a certain degree,
right?
I mean, I wonder if they're just trying to make this as a way to give perks to the people who are pumping the money into the system a little bit.
I think there's a couple of things. By the way, I've got my tickets for.
Tell them how to get them first. Tell them before we do. Like how do people?
You can't get them until Thursday unless you're a PSL owner. Okay. They have a pre-sale, and I think that's a part of this. I think that there's a marketing aspect of it because you get the pre-sale to be able to actually get the tickets for the training camp. We got that today. Okay. They don't go on sale to the general public until Thursday, at least per the Ticketmaster site. You get the pre-sale option for FanFest, which sells out incredibly fast. So you've got that benefit as well. I think this is just adding an extra benefit to being a PSL owner, but also providing them the ability to have order. Also, I think it has a little bit to do with being able to somewhat vet the people that you're going to be having coming into the training camp. You have to have a Ticketmaster account, which I think is you know, I it's sort of
Well,
like
they're worried about the bots of the world coming
maybe
to take over.
Maybe I don't know. You know, I'm not sure exactly. It could be some sort of ability to, because you do have to put your
Russian
name.
riffraff.
You have to put your name. You have to put your address and a phone number in when you purchase them. So it could
That's
be
cool.
a data
You know,
collecting
I think
as well.
it is. I think it's probably recognizing this is that there was a point when the hype is so big for like Fan Fest, even where
Right.
things that were fun local events have now become big like destinations. Like
Mhm.
we're gonna be at
Yeah.
Monster Subs there, hanging out. And you know what? Kind of like speaking of perks, giving perks to people, to PSL owners, making sure you're taking care of the people who are keeping the lights on.
Yeah,
We'll
100%.
take care of you. We'll hang out with you at Monster Subs in 1 month. And one way, you'll be like this. You'll be like, oh, I'm a super fan. I'm no Russian riffraff. I'm a C3 super fan. For $1.99, you can help continue to support us. That's our perk. Our perk is we're going to be hanging out there at Monster Subs with our boy Muscles Marinara. And this is just a way for us to continue to be friends and hang out and enjoy each other's company. CK, you were able to take advantage of this and get us some of these tickets.
Yeah.
So tell people who aren't PSL owners like myself how they can get these tickets on Thursday. What do they need to do?
So on Thursday, what you may want to do right now is bookmark the training camp announcement dates or dates announcement that the Panthers put out on their website. You got to go to more news. It's gotten so far down the list that you'll probably have to dig into their previous articles to be able to find it. Bookmark that article, because on there it tells you the page and what you need to go to. Now, if you go to that page, it'll tell you when you can purchase them. It'll try to act like you can purchase them now, but you have to put in a code. And that's one that I would give out, but I don't want to risk anything with regard to that because I am, first time PSL owner this year. So you can't do that unless you have that code. You might be able to find it online. I don't know.
Right. No, we don't need to do that. But like, we just need to make sure that people know how to access this, because some old hats like myself, who like Muscles Marinara said, is like, hey, we're just used to paying in heat and sweat to get into this free thing. But like, if you're used to just showing up at FanFest like myself has been in the past, and you remember how crazy those went at that point, where that 1 year where it went like in 8 seconds and people were trying to resell FanFest. We just want to make sure you got the info. So if you do want to enjoy a little of this early peek at this team, you're able to do it. So Thursdays when it opens up, you got to go back to the Panthers website, find that training camp, the one where they put out the schedule, and that information will be there. If you want to hang out at training camp, you'll need to do that. And they might open it up to the public at some point, as things like that. We'll see.
Like you're talking about if everybody gets there. Like, so for instance, and this might piss some people off, I got 6, right, for each day that we're there. Right now, I know that all 4 of us are going to be there at some point.
Yep.
We don't know what days. So I've got 4 to cover our bases. And I'm sure we have a couple of the creators that aren't PSL owners. So I feel like I'm holding on to a couple to be able to help some of those guys out. I think it is a good idea to be able to, help out other creators that are, Panthers content creators with regard to this, who maybe don't have access to that, just in case those tickets sell out too quickly. But yeah, if they don't have enough people there, if a lot of people are purchasing getting 6 tickets because they're free, and then they do a counter and they're like, okay, we've got, half the people here will open the gates up, an hour into training camp or something like that.
We'll see we'll keep you guys posted. What I'm more interested in even that now is how are they going to handle the social media policy?
Well, they
really cracked down in the past year, because a couple of years ago, I think you had some people out there live streaming basically, and they'd be like, hey, look at me, I'm right over my shoulder as we watch practice. So there have been, but they were really tough last year, CK, about just taking pictures.
That'll continue this year. If you look at their policies, you are not allowed to do video, video anything. Pictures are fine, I think, but doing if you're holding your phone up and it looks like you're videoing, a security guard most likely is going to come by and say, put that down. Or just be real. Apparently last year, PNP was talking about this, that it was they were extremely rude
Yeah, we
and
all
very
saw
aggressive.
that all clips. We called them out on the
Yeah.
show over it because it just is one of those things I want to create excitement. We're gonna need to get a lot of B-roll.
Yeah, I think
for this show.
Yeah, I think we can. Here's the thing. We got to talk about it off stream, but we got to figure out how we're going to do the show. If we're bringing down one computer, one camera, if we're going to have multiple cameras, how we're going to handle this.
I got the soundboard that can plug us all up. Yeah, we'll get those details all worked out. So yeah, that's a good question. Is maybe we even experiment with what we could do in theory if we were actually all together, which would be awesome. Right. And speaking about assembling this team and putting it all together, Cody, are they done putting it all together?
I don't know, man. They keep on dangling this DeAndre Hopkins carrot in front of our face. A lot of Panther fans have kind of felt like, man, this is old news. They've resigned to the fact that we are not getting DeAndre Hopkins. Yet, it comes out today that even though the New England Patriots are the front runners in the sweepstakes to land DeAndre Hopkins, that both the Cleveland Browns and the Carolina Panthers are still lurking on DeAndre Hopkins. Now, then a lot of the Panthers beat reporters, they kind of came out and
poo-pooed this right away.
Very quickly they poo-pooed this. So here's, for example, Will Kunkel saying, I'm told there's nothing brewing at this time between the Panthers and DeAndre Hopkins, but as always, the front office has their pulse on the Hopkins market. Well, I took umbrage to some of this. So Joe Person, Joe Person, he put out this tweet, says, regarding DeAndre Hopkins, as long as Fitter is here, Panthers will always monitor free agents who might be fit, but this team has more pressing needs at edge and cornerback. And I'm sorry, bro, this triggered me like hell. Bro, this really set me off. And what I said is, I'm sorry, Joe, I'm done hearing this. If they really need an edge or a cornerback that bad, why didn't they sign Leonard Floyd or Yannick Ngakoue? Where's Jadeveon Clowney? Hey, Marcus Peters is still available on the market, and none of them are here. So why do we keep on saying that this looming defensive end or cornerback is going to be out there, and that's what we're waiting to sign? Well, it's like, dude, we have not done that yet. And the more and more I think about it, we have so much talent that is unproven. If you added DeAndre Hopkins to this team, this offense has no limits this year, boys.
Yeah.
It really fucking doesn't. It has no limits. I mean, you're talking about someone that has been a top 5 NFL wide receiver for the majority of his career. The dude was on track for almost 1,000 yards last year. Doesn't drop anything. Like, you would never know who to double team on the Carolina Panthers. In my mind, I have scenarios with DeAndre Hopkins, Terrace Marshall Jr., DJ Chark, and Jonathan Mingo running 4 verts and daring them to stop us. Come on, man. I think this would take our team to another level. And my last point, if you're looking at this from DeAndre Hopkins' perspective, what does Matt Jones or Ryan Tannehill do for you, man? Like, you're going to be force-fed the ball. If you go to the Patriots or the Titans, why not go to a place like Carolina where they're looking to evenly distribute the ball amongst everyone, and DeAndre Hopkins is going to get open. He is going to get his touches no matter what. I think if there is a deal to be done, Fitterer needs to make it happen.
Does DeAndre coming to this team automatically improve every other wide receiver? Not necessarily just by having such a veteran presence, but because he's going to be doubled a lot and open up guys like TMJ, like all the receivers. I think that he improves our team not only on a level of bringing a better wide receiver, but I think he makes every wide receiver better.
Right. The Browns seem like an option. Are the comments not working right now? Is nobody saying anything? I must have gotten
They
this.
might not be.
Where?
This is, we just now
No, I'm just
um,
talking about on YouTube.
in
Like,
general, yeah.
like it's just like
here-
I wonder if the Russian riffraff thing and us on Rumble go like YouTube was like, man, we ain't messing with your comments.
Right.
Possible.
Well, what I wanted to say is like, so here's the thing. If you're looking at DeAndre Hopkins and you're saying, you know, Adam Thielen is too old, he's slowed down, he's like, I know that they're two separate types of players, but DeAndre Hopkins is 2 years younger than Thielen. Like, it's not like these guys are incredibly different as far as that. So you can't, in all honesty, you can't sit there and compare or say that Thielen isn't capable of being great. When you look at Thielen, what is it? Or I'm sorry, DeAndre Hopkins hasn't played in a full season in 2 years. His
one was a PED thing, I think.
Right. So he played 10 games 2 seasons ago, had 572 yards. Last year he played 9, had 717. Right.
It's crazy,
So,
dude. He's good.
no, what I'm saying is like if you're
9 games, 700. He had more yards than every receiver on the Panthers last year.
Kyler Murray would rather be playing Call of Duty than be in his playbook. And they had a lame duck head coach that was terrible for them in the Cardinals.
But you also, here's the thing, and this is what I'm talking about. I've said this before. I'm not against him being signed, but you shouldn't be breaking the bank to bring this guy in to make it happen. And the reason is because, number one, we have a lot of pieces. If you bring D-Hop in, you very well could be hindering the ability to see. Again, I said it before. If D-Hop is signed, that is the end of Terrace Marshall Jr. on this team.
Oh, that's not true.
Really? It is. It's 1,000%
no, it's
true.
not. That's not true at all.
What would TMJ
Too many mouths to feed, though,
No,
Cody.
it isn't. No, it is. You're going to have to swap guys in and out.
No.
You're going to have different packages where different players are going to be on the field at the same time. If anything, you're opening up Terrace Marshall Jr. in ways that he wouldn't have been otherwise. Like you're going to have to take guys off on second and third down sometime. You're going to have to be able to rotate players. And knowing that we're going to have an offense led by Bryce Young where he knows how to distribute the ball, where to go to, they're going to be able to scheme up DeAndre, TMJ. Like,
Nope. Here's what I'm telling you. This is wrong. Number one, if you have a D-Hop, you're not signing him to a 1 year deal, most likely, right? You're going to probably try to get him on a 3-year deal. Yeah. Who else has gotten 3-year deals?
That's not what they're saying.
Chark. You have DeAndre Hopkins. You got Mingo. You just drafted in the second round. You're gonna have him 4 years cheap. You're not going to keep TMJ on the roster and sign him to a deal. You're not going to get enough production. You might be able to get some production out of him to where he's going to be able to sign another deal with you. But odds are, if he is the 5th string on this team, which is what you would, here's the thing, he's going to be the guy who's going to be the odd man out. You don't sign DJ Chark, you don't sign Adam Thielen, you sure as hell don't sign D-Hop if you plan on playing TMJ ahead of any of those guys.
Well, to be fair, when they signed all those other guys, D-Hop wasn't available. Like there wasn't that they had rumors he wanted to be traded, but he hadn't been cut yet.
But they signed them. Right. And that's what I'm saying is like you sign them. That's my entire point is even though he wasn't available, they did sign them. So they're going to be here. TMJ is not here after this year. This is his last year. If I'm not mistaken.
He has one more. No, he has one more year. This is his
but he can be
year.
Cut after this year and not
honestly,
have to worry about
it. They're not going to cut Terrace Marshall Jr. with a year left on his contract. And he really came on at the end of last year. If anything, listen, what you need to do, take Laviska Shenault, put the dude at running back, and either get either of Shi Smith or Damiere Byrd out of town. Boom. We no longer have any issues at wide receiver. We have a full arsenal of wide receiver talent.
You tell me Damiere Byrd. Hey, listen, you're telling me right now that you believe that if they kept all of these guys, that everybody would get fed the way that they need to be able to prove that they're a star player.
What does need to? Do we want the best offense possible, or do we want to make sure that we have like multiple 1,000-yard receivers. Like I'm sorry,
TMJ
I
wouldn't be a
want to
1,000-yard
do
receiver if
I
you brought
want to
D-Hop
do
in.
what
Feeling
I want to
good.
do what's best for this offense, and I think a wide receiver on the caliber of DeAndre Hopkins, one, he's going to make everyone else far more open than they would have been otherwise. So it just seems like, listen, whether or not it happens, it probably won't. But you can't tell me that this team isn't better off with DeAndre Hopkins than what we have now, especially when you have so many Panther fans wanting to call our receiving core trash, that we don't have a number one, that we don't have this, we don't have that. Like, that takes this offense to another level.
Well, that people are saying that because nobody's been given an opportunity on this offense to be able to be a number one wide receiver. You bring D-Hop in, you're doing that again. You're going to be talking about limiting the development of these guys. The only way they're going to be benefiting from any type of experience is playtime in the real game time type of reps. And if you're talking about TMJ is going to be in third down situations, right? That's not enough to show what this guy's capable of doing and getting the experience that he needs. Yes, I am telling you without question, you need, if you sign D-Hop, which if you do, I'm fine for it, right? That's not a problem. But I am telling you, there is a real reality that comes into play here, and that is TMJ is going to be heavily impacted by his signing.
Do you think that, okay, so here's
Negatively,
my question
clearly.
is, like, if DeAndre Hopkins does come and TMJ is the odd man out and gets cut, as long as D-Hop does better than TMJ, which I'm almost positive he will, then what's the loss?
Not
here?
going to get cut.
What are we arguing
Not gonna
about?
Get cut.
But what
It
I'm
would
saying
just
is, if
be
that
like
happens,
his future with the team would be
okay.
would be limited. So he
So
would
if
get
D-Hop
this
comes
year,
in-
but you wouldn't have a future with him likely
Well,
if
we never
you had
drafted him to
these
be a
guys.
number one guy. We didn't
We
draft
drafted him in the
TMJ to be a
second
number one
round.
guy.
I think he was drafted to be a number one guy.
DJ Moore
Mm.
at that point in time was going to be our number one guy for the next 5-6
Tough.
years.
Yeah, it's kind of
That was
tough.
the hope,
once you
but we
draft
drafted
him a
him.
second round.
We drafted him before we re-signed DJ, and DJ wasn't like he wasn't in the midst of like a blow up type of a season when we drafted him. Like he had like his maybe 2,000-yard seasons in a row, and that was it. Like it
yeah,
wasn't
he
like
didn't have that one with Teddy Bridgewater yet at that
Right.
point, you know.
And so I think that even with that, DJ Moore wasn't a guaranteed number one wide receiver at that time. We were still arguing whether he was going to be signed at that point. Like if we were going to even pick up his 5th-year option for that matter.
I wouldn't be upset if this happened. I wonder if what Cody though is maybe more interesting is like would it maybe more interesting than how good the offense would be with DeAndre Hopkins. We can argue and I think really CK has a lot of great points about how there's just like what this would do for developmentally, and in some ways there's other side of the coin that it would help some of these players developmentally by not forcing them or requiring them to play a role that maybe they're not prepared for just yet with a Mingo or something. But what I think is like, if we look more at the other side of the story as why isn't it a defensive end or corner,
right?
Particularly once that JC Horn rolled ankle, now all the, like, there's so many people that are nicked up in the secondary. You were already a little unsure of the guys that are healthy, you're unsure of, and the guys that are injured are the ones that you need to be good. Why is it that the Panthers haven't, if they are so much more interested in filling or need to fill these more, haven't they been active? Some of that, I think, Cody, is that maybe some of these defensive players, Yannick, I think, is wants a big deal, and they're waiting for the market or something like that. Maybe it's not the perfect scheme fit. Leonard Floyd was the interesting name because it does the connection with the connection with our former defense or our defensive coordinator, his connection with him in LA. And also it's not like he went and signed a mega deal with the Bills.
Right. It was a pretty it was a 1-year deal, wasn't it?
Right.
Right.
And that seemed to be the guy that probably was the best fit. Now the guys that are out there are so damn old. If you look at the names that are out there other than Clowney, it's like Frank. I mean, these guys are like 36.
Dude, that's
We're
what
sitting
I'm
here worried
saying.
about Adam Thielen.
And the by the way, the fact that every time we talk about D-Hop, it always comes up, oh, hey, we need another corner, we need another defensive end. Well, okay, why the fuck haven't they done it yet? I hear what you're saying, Tony, but like none of these are really good reasons. Like Leonard Floyd would have been perfect for the Panthers. You know, there's still no Jadeveon Clowney. Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no reason why this should be what stops you from adding an elite wide receiver to your receiving core.
Okay.
Yeah.
D-Hop's story is just continuing to be with us, CK.
I think there's also the potential that none of these guys, like you said, Tony, they might be waiting for the bag. I don't even know if that's the case. I think some of these guys may be waiting for training camp to be halfway done so that they don't have to go through it.
Who's the guy that is the Ndamukong Suh?
Right.
Ndamukong Suh straight up came out and said it. He said, I hate you. I mean, I've been in this league forever. I'm going to a team. You call me up when that mess is over. I'll come join your team then.
Respect.
I don't know if I respect it, man. You gotta I think there's a truth to you have to build a team. And you know, when you look at 2015, which is our biggest measuring stick as Panthers fans, like there was just a family vibe to what this team was. There wasn't, I know Cam Newton had a big personality, but it didn't feel like there was one person who was, you know, just needing all of the attention over top of everybody else, right?
But that's where those guys, where them coming after training camp really does. I don't hold a guy like is like somebody like Clowney, Peters, or even somebody like you were talking about, Sue, is like, you don't want that old guy being the heartbeat of the team either.
Right.
They're a mercenary guy that's trying to come in there and give you one little oomph in a place that you might not have it yet. And I think of the years where we went and got those old hats and actually tried to think that they were going to be a big part of our core. So you think of Dante Repo year, you think of who was the other guy that we got from the Bucks? That
Gerald McCoy.
Yeah. And like, you don't need them old guys who are 1 year mercenaries or two, you know, to be the heartbeat of your team, the family element. And you know that players in these positions like a Peters or somebody has been traded mid-season to a team and made a big impact. So we'll just be continuing to monitor, as we saw, and you guys mentioned in the blueprint too, and or the sentiment that's coming out of this. It doesn't feel like the players think this is a rebuild. What will the front office think about this build? Is this build slow and steady, or is it, you know, the need to improve?
Let me can I ask this, CK? So what I had heard was the going rate for a D-Hop, no matter who it's with, it would be about 1 year, $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for 1 year. Right now we have the second most. I think we're
like 23 million or something like that.
I think we're at like around 30, aren't we?
I feel like I remember 23, but you might be right. But
I mean, we signed everybody except
we still got to get Burns.
You gotta re-sign Burns, and if you can front load that, I think
might help them.
But my last point on D-Hop, when you have an offense that can put up a high number of points, this is our first year moving to a 3-4 defense. If we're putting up points and we're able to get away to some early leads, that lets our defense pin their ears back and play more aggressive to really get after the quarterback, play man coverage, and go out there and dominate on the football field. I agree with Drew Irvin in the chat. He's like, if we get DeAndre Hopkins, we're putting up 30 points a game. When you look at Frank Reich and how he's able to scheme people open, and, you know, people talked about when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, they always had opponents had a nightmare time game planning for Frank Reich's offense that he was going to implement. Right. When you add Bryce Young to that element and a receiver on the level of DeAndre Hopkins, I'm sorry, bro. That's next level shit to me.
This is pretty weird. Look at these numbers, CK. As well, we've fallen to third, but not by 100,000.
Right.
The Bears have 32. The Cardinals. This is according to overthecap.com, which is my favorite. Bears, Cardinals, Panthers. Panthers at 26.
We have so much dead money.
We also have heard, though, that there's going to be a big opening for free agency in the following year. So I clicked over to 2024. And I don't know about this, but look at this first number right here, this team. The Patriots.
Oh my God.
It says they're gonna have $122 million in cap space. That was even
Because they have no
Patriots
stars.
had-
They
no
don't have
stars to line.
anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
they literally don't have anyone.
That's insane, dude. They're like they're gonna be drafting a brand new team.
Yeah.
6.2 and dead though. But
The and that's that graphic that you just put up is another reason why I think we have to be considerate about whether we do DeAndre Hopkins or we front load Brian Burns, because we only have we're 52 million next year, and you're talking about Brian Burns needing to be paid pretty good. If you can take some of that, the majority of that cap space and use that and front load his contract, I think there's some value to be had in doing so. You've got to think about all the other players. You're going to think about now. You're going to have the conversation of you're going to have to sign Derek Brown before the season next year, even though he's going to be playing on his 5th-year option next year. There's a lot of decisions to be made in the offseason, and we're not at the top 10 of the list of people with best, in the top 10 of cap space. So I think we've got to really think forward thinking there as well. So that's where I'm saying, what's the benefit? Does the benefit outweigh the ability to potentially have an equally good offense with what we have now? And does DeAndre Hopkins really elevate this team beyond where it's at? Beyond, like, to a degree where it's worth potentially not having Brian Burns next year or after that?
I would much rather have Brian Burns on a big contract than DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
I want DeAndre Hopkins, but I would much rather have Brian Burns than DeAndre Hopkins.
I just don't believe it's a scenario where it has to be either or.
You're right. It may not be, but
it doesn't have to be, but it impacts us.
One or the other. Then
it impacts us. But again, man, dude, the salary cap is a myth. Okay, I'm sorry, CK. I know you're the numbers guy, but me and Tony have figured this shit out, dude. There is always some ways for GMs to do some slight underhanded bullshit, front load contracts, all this other different shit. Man, I'm tired of hearing it.
There
man.
are some
Every
things
other
that you
team can do this except us.
There are some things you can do, but the thing the salary cap isn't a myth. Everything you do with the salary cap is kicking the can down the road.
Exactly.
Then you everything you've ever. There is no the salary cap doesn't disappear.
But what if
because
it's
you've
like
got
our own
years.
national debt and it just doesn't matter?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, kick it down the road. I mean, that's what I kind of do with my own finance. I'm like, fuck it, kick it down the road.
Eventually, you got to pay the piper.
Like, I'm just saying, it's going to happen. Like, there is nobody who gets away with it for a decade. The Saints haven't. They've been in cap hell for about 4 years, but that's it. Like,
and
you're
they're
not talking
still
about
able to load up every year.
Right. And guess what? It's going to really fuck them over in the next
Just
couple
a
of
balance
years.
transfer on a credit card, man.
Years,
This is
dude.
just
We've
refi
been
them
waiting.
to pay off another second mortgage.
I'm
guess
with
it's
CK
just
on
going
this
to
one. I
happen.
think the Saints are about to be fucked in a few years.
Yeah, I mean, and
now, but they
they
somehow
kinda
still
are now.
got
Here's-
four.
Here's
They've
my
been the
point.
weakest
That's
division
what
of
I'm
football.
saying.
Here's my point.
It's bullshit.
That's voodoo there.
Cody, do you think we win the Super Bowl this year with DeAndre Hopkins?
I think
That's unfair.
it puts us in a better position to do that.
Do you believe that our odds of? Do you think, like, listen, if we get him, there is a incredible chance we're going to make it, or do you think we're just going to be maybe we win the division but not get much further?
Yes, I think with I think that the level that Bryce Young is coming in at, that is a high level offense, high powered offense in the NFC that I think could put up points on anyone.
You've got to keep in mind we still have a rookie quarterback. I'm all for Bryce Young, but there is not a single rookie quarterback that comes in here and just blows it off of the doors and takes their team to the Super Bowl.
Is Bryce Young better than Trevor Lawrence, Cody?
Except for Brock Purdy.
Why y'all do this to me?
I'm just asking. Look, I've turned on Trevor Lawrence. I'm not knocking Trevor Lawrence. What I'm saying is Bryce Young better than Trevor Lawrence? Because the answer is going to be no. I know it is. And Trevor Lawrence did not even come close to taking a team to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but again, it's
He
different
didn't have
football teams,
D-Hop.
different scenarios. Didn't have D-Hop. Didn't have Frank Reich as his head coach. Like, there's all these if ands.
How about this? Is he better than
maybes.
Deshaun Watson? Is Deshaun Watson better than prime Deshaun Watson? Better than?
I mean, both of those guys are proven.
Because he, but
you're also asking because you know I'm a Clemson
he
fan
had
too.
Here's my thing: is D-Hop or Deshaun Watson had D-Hop.
Who's had the most successful rookie season just from a accomplishment standpoint, not like
Rookie season.
not numbers, but like personal numbers.
Brock
But
Purdy.
who
Andrew
is-
Luck,
How far did he get his
RG3?
rookie season?
they got to the playoffs.
I
Hey,
think
real
Brock
quick,
Purdy
shout out
too.
to Eric for the $2. He says, "Does this help get D Hop? It helps us, but unfortunately not with D Hop." Eric, thanks so much, brother.
Yeah, the Brock Purdy one is still a big question mark on his rookie year. Like
Ooh.
he came. I'm not saying he wasn't good. He played very effectively, but he also was in an established offense that had some of the best weapons in the entire NFL. Like there with one of the best offensive lines. I'm not prepared to put him in that category of like he got them. I think that there was so many different pieces that got them to the NFC Championship. He just helped get them along. He didn't hurt them. By
the way, there's never a first until there is one.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like all of this. Well, these
yeah.
other guys didn't do it, so Bryce definitely isn't.
But
yeah, maybe that's
here's
true.
the thing.
But according to all reports, Bryce isn't coming in at a level of preparedness that other quarterbacks simply just do not come in at.
Who's
And
reporting?
Baker Mayfield was zinging the ball last year and looked great, didn't he?
I don't want to hear
According
about
to the
Baker.
coaches. I'm just
fucking-
saying.
It
I don't
is
trust
not
that
the
coach
same
talk.
thing.
I'm not
Brock
going to
Purdy.
say somebody's not looking good when you draft him number one.
It's not the same thing,
Real
though.
quick.
Here we go.
Rumble
Speaking of
chat.
Brock Purdy,
Okay.
says this is Brock Purdy joins exclusive list. Since the NFL's inception, there have been a total of 14 rookie quarterbacks to start playoff games. They've all had a shaky postseason. They're 10-14 overall historically. He managed to get rookie quarterbacks back on the right track. He threw to see who were the other. All right, so Brock Purdy, 2022, the last rookie quarterback to win playoff game was Russell Wilson in 2012. Then it's like TJ Yates, Mark Sanchez, Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger. Didn't Ben Roethlisberger? Oh, he lost the conference championship his rookie year.
Yeah, so
That one was big. That was, and then he won the Super Bowl like the next year. Or
Didn't he
something
have
like that.
Antonio
But,
Brown and
again,
Hines Ward
How many of them?
Wow.
Here's the
Tough
here's
list,
the
though.
argument. Here's what I'll say, and I want you to look at all of this. Okay. So, not only do you have a rookie quarterback, you have a new head coach, a lot of new coaches. You have a lot of new pieces. Like this is a new installment. Like the idea. So here's my reasoning for being hesitant on the DeAndre Hopkins is if you sign DeAndre Hopkins, it better be a win now, and we're going to the Super Bowl. Because guess what? You're putting a dent in our future by hiring or by signing him. If this isn't a win it all type of move, if you are 1000% in belief that this team with a new head coach, regardless of his tenure, it is a new head coach, a new regime, a new rookie quarterback, and a lot of new pieces and a completely new defensive scheme, even for our veteran players. Like if your belief is that we're going to the Super Bowl, sign DeAndre Hopkins. But if you do not believe that you're going to the Super Bowl, then there is 0 point in signing that dude.
But see, Ken, I think your expectations are already too lofty. It's first things first. Does it help you get better enough to win the division? Because in order to get to a Super Bowl, you got to make it to the playoffs. Looking at the NFC South landscape, if DeAndre Hopkins makes you the favorite to win your division, yeah, that gives you a chance to make it to the dance, man. Like you have to upgrade
But right
your
now,
offense.
we also look like we have a chance to win the division, regardless of whether he's here or not.
I agree with that. All
right, so
Zesty
maybe
D in the Rumble chat says with Hopkins on our offense is a Super Bowl offense if Bryce Young is half of what Cam was his rookie year.
Yes.
That's a bold statement.
I don't
That's a
know
bold
about that.
statement.
Cam Newton was good, but he also was very inconsistent in his rookie year. Like from if you look at his interceptions, some of them are pretty egregious.
Didn't he throw like his best game ever, his first game he ever played?
I mean, the dude had over 4,000 yards.
Yeah, he had an incredible.
Like
his rookie season was great, like from the rushing and his passing and everything. But he also wasn't a great decision maker.
And by the way, also I like what T. Murray says. The NFC only has 2 teams that are like heavyweights in the NFC.
That's not true.
That even if you did make it to the playoffs, you're like, okay, the 49ers and the Eagles. Well, both of those teams have a lot of firepower when it comes to their offense. So you're going to have to be able to put up points with both of those teams. You're right, CK. I do think our receiving core, as it is right now, can win the division. But if you add DeAndre Hopkins, we can go toe-to-toe with the Niners in Philadelphia.
I don't know about that, man.
That's
All right.
I don't know. Like, with 1 year under our belt, I don't, like I said, it's just, I'm hopeful. I really want it to be the case. I just don't know if I'm ready to even put any type of a dent in our ability to sign the people that we need to next year just to get DeAndre Hopkins this year.
I think it's fair. I mean, I like Hopkins, but I think what you're saying is fair. It's not necessarily the best future move. I don't think it would kill us in the future, but it's just one of those things. How much gas do you have left in the tank? Is it worth it?
Right.
You know?
Well, that and I don't think that those are the only two heavyweights. I think Dallas still is a pretty good team. I think Minnesota still has a great track history of being incredible. Mm-hmm. I think that we're not giving enough of these teams credit. The only two people that made it to the conference championship were those two, and that's why I think that they're considered the heavyweights. But I think that there's more people to be worried about than just those two in this. So
those two teams that you mentioned, Minnesota and Dallas, we played both of them this year.
Right.
Again, would you not? If they have Justin Jefferson, Dallas has CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they've got players.
Justin Jefferson. Who'd they draft?
They drafted. I just looked up this kid.
They've got two superstars.
Help me out. Who Minnesota just draft? Damn it,
I can't remember either. Yeah,
whatever. The dude out of USC. Out of USC. He was at Pitt, transferred to USC. And it's like, oh, okay, if you're going to play Minnesota and you're going to play the Cowboys, wouldn't you rather have DeAndre Hopkins going against those weapons that they have? Like, I want to be able to go blow for blow with the best teams in the NFC.
But you're asking for a lot against teams that have established regimes and quarterbacks. Like, that's the difference here. Is you're saying that we're going to be able to come in here and immediately, like, we're going to be able to beat all of these teams that have established offenses, established defenses, that aren't going through the type of dramatic changes we're going through, and they have established quarterbacks. We have a rookie quarterback. There is growing pains. It's not abnormal for there to be a learning curve for these guys. I know Bryce Young is the most pro ready, but to say he's going to come in here and not get bumps and bruises along the way is just not a reasonable expectation.
I'm just choosing to believe in what we were sold. The reason we drafted the shortest, lightest quarterback to be drafted number 1 overall in recent history is because of his acuity to be able to come in, know the offenses, be accurate, be on time, and do all these different things. You might call me unreasonable, CK, but I'm not expecting Bryce Young. And listen, I know he's a rookie and he's going to have those rookie moments. It's going to happen to everyone. But I'm not expecting Bryce Young to hit the ground softly and feel through his rookie season. I think we're poised to hit the ground running, and DeAndre Hopkins helps that campaign.
I'm not saying it hurts his campaign by any stretch. I'm just saying, and I think me and Justin are on the same wavelength here. I'm saying that right now we don't know what Young is going to be in this league, right? I think there is a very, very, with any team, I agree that there's a small chance that we're going to make it to the Super Bowl, right? There's a better chance we'll make it to the playoffs regardless. And sure, DeAndre Hopkins makes any offense better, optimistically speaking, as long as he's healthy and he's not on PED suspension, right? But you've got to keep in mind, he has had health issues. Like he's getting to that. Like, we can't make this argument about somebody else being old and not talk about DeAndre's age possibly becoming an issue moving forward, right? And we don't know what we're getting out of Young. We don't know what we have out of Mingo. We don't know what we have out of TMJ with this offense. We don't know how we're going to even utilize the wide receiver role with Frank Reich being such a tight end heavy type of a coach, right? There's a lot of things we just don't know that makes signing DeAndre Hopkins a potential risk to our future. I think that
there's another story here.
Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
What if it's not about this year? What if you sign D-Hop to a 2-year deal and it's about next year and we win the Super Bowl? Like, Ben Roethlisberger
Yeah.
did in his second season.
If you sign him to a 2-year deal, you're not keeping TMJ.
Well, what if we're winning the Super Bowl next
Hold on, though. If you
season?
sign him to a 2-year deal, DJ Chark's only on 1-year deal. Why
Is it
couldn't
only,
Chark be
I
the
thought he
odd
was on
man
a
out?
2 or 3 year deal.
No, he's a 1-year
But
deal.
see,
these are-
I'll meet you on your terms. One, I disagree with you. I don't think that DeAndre Hopkins means the end of Terrace Marshall Jr. But even if it did, dude, I want what's best for the Panthers offense
Today, though, and that's the thing is like I know we have this mindset of we want to be better today, and I agree. I want to win today, but I also don't want to just sell our future away for DeAndre Hopkins because of a potential increase in our productivity for 1 year.
Well, just out of curiosity, CK, how much do you think they're going to be willing to pay for DeAndre? Like, because if he comes in and we give him $7-8 million a year,
No, it's
Oh, they
15 or
lost
7.
their Look,
it's like
actually,
15 to
I'm sitting
17
here
million.
saying Ben
Okay.
Roethlisberger lost his second year in the Super Bowl. My bad. Pittsburgh 31. They lost to Green Bay that year. Huh. So when the hell did he win his first Super
He-
Bowl? I
he
thought it was-
beat
2008, they beat Arizona. No, Arizona beat them in 2008. That's right.
No, they beat Arizona.
Oh, this is
They beat Arizona?
2011.
Yeah,
Oh, I
he,
know.
he
Yeah,
won.
that was the one
yeah,
Super Bowl I
he
missed
won
in
his
basic
second
training.
year.
Oh, I'm looking the wrong year.
He won
Yeah, he
his
did
second
win
year.
his second year. Okay.
Yeah.
Who did
That
they
was the one
play?
Super Bowl
Was
I
that
missed.
when they beat the Seahawks?
No, the Cardinals.
No, that was. Oh, it was the Cardinals.
Mhm.
Cardinals.
Because I remember my
Man.
asshole drill sergeant
What if
coming
the
out and telling
Carolina
us the Cardinals
Panthers
won.
beat? What if the Carolina Panthers beat the Pittsburgh Steelers next year in the Super Bowl? That would be a fun storyline right there. Come
Carolina
on.
beat anybody in the Super Bowl next year. I don't care who it is.
Yo, you know what would be the dopest?
If they put grass.
No, Panthers and Jaguars in the Super Bowl.
Oh, oh, that actually, what an incredible storyline that would
I
be.
know.
Maybe they could save it for 3 more years. When would like their 30th?
Yeah. So
anniversary.
what? How old are we? Our first year
Could've
was
been
2000.
No, 96.
2025.
95.
Yeah,
95 is
2025.
when it was forged, right?
Yeah,
But the
2025 because we went to the Super Bowl in our 20th season in 2015.
Yeah, there you go. 2025, the 3-year blueprint, the Panthers and the Jags Super Bowl, Bryce Young versus Trevor Lawrence.
Let's
Love it.
go,
I
baby.
love
Can
this
I
idea.
depress you guys for a minute?
Oh no.
No.
All the kids that Cam handed those Super Bowl or those game balls to are going to college.
Oh. Oh yeah. Mm. They were
Doesn't that make
kids.
you
So
feel
what is
old,
that?
dude?
What was that? 10 years ago?
Yeah,
We
almost
are
8
old.
years ago.
8 years ago.
We are old, man. But yeah, Tony brought up the turf, so I guess there's never been a better time than right now. What do we think about this? This made the rounds.
I'm tired
On,
of this talk right here.
I know, but it's gonna continue to be a talk.
As they continue to
from-
play soccer here and then roll out
Right.
this turf.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so natural grass going in. This is a picture. Natural grass and going in at Bank of America Stadium for Sunday's Gold Cup matches. USA versus Trinidad and Tobago at 7 p.m. Honduras versus Haiti at 9 p.m. Now
But this
they
is
will
not
roll the
owned by
grass out.
Tepper, though, right? Like, you
The
think
stadium is his. They don't
no,
come.
but
Yeah.
this event, you don't think? Do you think that they?
He has to. Yeah,
Well,
he has
all
to.
of
This is
all
a
of the
expense for him.
soccer players I know over in Europe, they do not play on
Right,
turf.
right. But I'm saying is this Gold Cup? Whoever runs this Gold Cup, they're not going to foot any of this bill. You think for putting this grass out?
No,
No,
I
they
think
say, hey, if you want to sell tickets for us to be in your venue, you're gonna put grass on
Yeah.
in your
So
stadium.
then that raises the question of
don't
while
they do
it
this for
sounds
every soccer game they have though?
irresponsible,
I'm pretty
What's
sure
that?
they do this for all their soccer games though.
not
Like,
all the
even-
soccer games. No, just certain ones against certain teams that have these rules in the bylaws. I think.
So
I
what
don't
they
think it's
do
every
here-
time, but think about it for football. That's really only 8 times.
8 to 9 times. Well,
And
technically,
could
if you
this
count
grass hold
preseason-
up for football though? Like while this install for soccer, could it physically this day old turf or day old grass or whatever
No,
it
they
is, could it
not-
hold up to a football game?
Not like this. Like not like so. Basically, what you would need if you're wanting to replace the field, This is
8
good
times a year.
Right. So you can't like this is rolled over top of the turf, right? You see that liner and then you have the grass over top of the turf. Which is why it's still okay because there's still more cushion underneath the grass because of the turf. Like you would have to like if you're talking about having the games played on the grass, you can't just do that. You'd have to have the entire thing replaced with just grass. You couldn't just roll it over.
What if you couldn't do that 8 times a year? Just put out grass for one day. I mean, it sounds remarkably irresponsible in some ways to the environment to be like it would be disposable grass. It's like
you would
paper plates on when you have a party over.
Yeah, I think
but
that they would have
could that disposable grass actually survive an NFL football contest with that weight and that abuse? I wonder if soccer is like a less of a impact when it comes to the grass. Like, I mean, it's like lighter people, you know what I'm saying? They're rolling around. It's not like they're the 300-pound men wearing these cleats that are just like
too. You're not having guys pushing up against each other, having to leverage their
and you see like what if you had two offensive two linemen just
and you
locking
see the grass
arms and you see the grass just like
yeah, that would be unfortunate.
Disposable grass. All right. Well, yeah, they're always.
I know people are tired of talking about it, but it's just so. It's hilarious that it continues to come up because this is something that our players want and have been very vocal about wanting, and they, these soccer players come in and they literally get the grass rolled right out in front of them. So
you almost wonder too why, like, if you would do that for them. And it's a less money-making enterprise, why you wouldn't be more interested in protecting more expensive assets on the football side?
That's what I'm saying.
If you're gonna make that, they must not be able to do it. A football game must be too intense to play on disposable grass.
I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. How have we done it for so long?
No, because it wasn't disposable then. That was permanent grass, but disposable grass is just this day-old grass. It can't be strong enough.
I mean,
you look at that, the way they rolled that over the top of the turf right there. I mean, you think that is not going to hold up against, like you talked about, 300-pound men just pushing up against each other, leveraging their
Aaron Donald is going to come in there. He's going to get mad after a play, and he's going to grab the grass and just
rip it up. Nice. Y'all ready to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So this was a fun one. It's like looking at an alternate timeline of what could have been, right? Because we're taking on a blast from the past. Jerry Richardson apparently had a bunch of different names in mind for this Carolina expansion franchise that he was bringing to Charlotte. The nicknames that they were all considering were the Cobras, which, as you see, there is a Carolina Cobras. The Rhinos, which, God, how awful is that, dude?
That's impossible. The Rhinos sounds ridiculous. That sounds like a team that plays in a football movie. Like any given Sunday, it's like the Rhinos,
the Hippos.
This one rolls off the tongue. The Carolina Cougars, which could you imagine the jokes?
Oh man, that's
I could not
the best cheerleaders. Yeah.
First thing, or
we have to have cheerleaders over the age of 40.
Zach Wilson, the first free agent to sign, he's like demanding trades to the Carolina Cougars. Cam Newton dressed up like a grandma, and they would be like, "That's not a cougar, that's a gilf." Or something. The jokes would just be endless. Carolina Cougars, though, because I think a cougar and a panther and a leopard are all kind of technically the same animal in some way, so there might be cougars in North Carolina. Cobras, there's no, other than it being just badass, like the Cobra would be a cool, like, step outside the box of the NFL in some ways, and kind of that new edgy, all the futuristic type things like they're trying to do with the uniforms and stuff. But there's no real connection to the Cobra to the Carolinas. Somebody put on Twitter, they said this is what about the Carolina Copperheads? Like,
That would be
is
a little more
that's
accurate,
yeah. The Rhinos, there is nothing to.
Yeah, that's the dumbest.
Wait,
That's
you
the
don't see
dumbest
rhinos
one
running
by
through North
far.
Carolina all the time? Come on, we get stories about that all the time.
And
You
it's
would
like,
have to like have Spartan, but you would have training camp at that little petting zoo that Doc Antler owned in
in South Carolina.
yeah, and
I
what
like
was
that
it,
dude.
Tiger King? He just went to jail or something, I think.
Yeah,
No, I
think
think
so.
that's what's his name?
The Doc Antler guy's in trouble again. He's the one
Anzalone
that
or whatever,
ran
yeah.
the. Remember that in that episode that dad dropped his 15-year-old daughter off, and Doc's like, "Hey, thanks for your daughter."
I mean, it is fun. And by the way, the only reason we ended up being the Panthers is Jerry Richardson's son. He was a big fan of big cats, so he decided to go with the Panthers. So
Glad he went that way.
Oh, I am
Cobras
too.
would be cool though.
I wouldn't mind a Cobras or Copperheads. That would have worked, but either of the other ones, no, hell no.
It
And,
would've been cool.
Forever the villains.
Yeah, that totally.
Yeah, I love big cats too. By the way, and no, you were wrong, Tony. A cougar is not the same as the leopard and a jaguar. There are 4 big cats. Your favorite, the tiger.
Okay.
Then you got the lion.
Okay.
Then you have a jaguar, and then you have a leopard. The reason why they're the big cats is because they all have the ability to roar. A cougar can't roar. Yeah, a cougar cannot roar. Now, technically, there's no such thing as a panther.
Right, they're all leopards.
Anytime you see a black cat or a panther, it's either a melanistic jaguar or a melanistic leopard. Both of them can be pitch black. So I've always thought of us as a jaguar because it's like we're like twin brothers with the jaguars, except we came out a little bit darker than them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So,
Different. They said maybe bad. What do you call it? I know this is a very small in size cat, but it's the bobcat,
yeah.
right? They don't roar.
No.
But they do sound like murdered children in the woods. Have you ever
Yeah.
heard a bobcat? It
It's
sounds
like a
like somebody
high-pitched-
is like dying out
Yeah,
there.
it's
And you're
like a
like, should I call
shrill.
911?
Yeah, they're creepy. Yeah, no doubt.
It's like their, you know what their evolutionary skill was tricking people to run out there and think that some little kid is getting murdered in the middle of the night. And that's how they trap their victims. That was their evolutionary trick right there, is make moms run out there and be like, Billy's out there, I guess. And then mom's dead.
White Chocolate says he's been to bars in downtown Charleston, and he says that cougars do in fact roar.
But
well done. That's
well
my
done.
son that I don't admit to having. You saw Tepper's wife in the one of the Blueprint episodes.
I like her. I
the
like
draft
her.
one. Yeah, the draft one.
I like that she's a part of our decision making group. By the way, when the trade happened for DJ Johnson, Nicole was the one that picked up the phone.
Yeah, they're
That'd be a cougar.
To be fair, I almost felt like they were I'm trying to think the right way to put it. Basically, she answered. She handed the phone to Dan Morgan. Dan Morgan handed the phone to Fit, and they completed the deal. And then afterwards, she was like, they were like, yeah, Nicole's the one that answered the phone. We're gonna credit her with the trade. And then they start like smiling and laughing. I'm like sitting there like it was almost condescending. Like I'm just like, I don't know. It was some like crazy thing that she did, but I don't know, man. It felt a little odd, but she's certainly a welcome presence in that. What I loved most about this episode 3 was how excited she and David Tepper were to get Bryce Young.
Yeah.
She did a good job in just a moment of phrasing. Like, so you get these kind of like boring white dudes in Frank Reich and what's his name, Scott Fitter, you know, so like the
Pat McAfee calls them the old whites.
Yep.
She in one line, right when they were about ready, I think the draft in that, you know, like when they were at that moment, she said, it's just really crazy, like wild where we're at from where we were when we were hiring for, like, and she just in one line kind of captured how that apex moment was, right? She did a good job of articulating, and these guys are over there like, well, you know, I mean, they're probably talking about some inconsequential asset of like how a guy in the 6th round can do something. She just had a nice touch to it. I thought that was artistic almost.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I like about what she does is I think she's enough involved to be able to take over if something were to happen to David Tepper. Because let's be real, David Tepper doesn't look like he's in the greatest of health. Like, I mean,
yeah, but he can probably afford pretty good medical care, I think.
Sure, but you know, there's only so much.
A big cat could have a plastic heart.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I just like who she is and what she brings to the table. And I think honestly, if she ended up having to take the reins over for the team, I think she would be a fantastic owner of the Panthers, to be honest with you.
She's a
David
great
Tepper's
face.
gonna have David Tepper's gonna be so rich by the time in the next 20 years, particularly the Panthers like reel off a Super Bowl with, like, he's gonna be able to like upload his being into an AI device. That's how much he's gonna live.
Yeah.
But you know, there are not cool stories, but there are been female owners in sports history throughout different leagues that have had very important and successful roles in those leagues.
I mean, look at Ted Lasso.
Yo,
Yeah,
Kev is on fire
Kev's,
tonight, bro.
I like Kev's chat. It made me laugh. A woman who likes younger men is called a cougar. A man who likes younger men is called Nittany Lion.
That hits
Savage.
a little. Yeah.
Damn, Kev.
That's like top material right there. That's some
Yeah,
Andrew
man,
Dice
dude.
Clay joke or something.
Damn, that's fucked up, Kev.
All right. You want to
but
rock
Tony,
with
you know
some
what?
cat calls? Yes, I'm ready.
We have reached that point of the show where it's time for us to listen to you, the Panther fans. If you would like to do so, get in the cat calls line at 252-228-5098. Let's do it.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Good evening, Tony, Cody, Greg, everybody, Panther Nation, everyone listening. Yeah, the level of disrespect aimed at the Panthers around the NFL.
Sad.
Hey, Tony, did it stop?
Did we lose him?
Nope. Didn't stop, but it did stop. Man, that stinks, dude, because I can show you. I wonder, you could see the transcript a little bit. There's still like 2 minutes and 46 seconds. So that was like a $27 international call.
Oh, no.
Can you read that for
poor Rich.
No, I mean, it ends there. That's where the sound ends. It's
The call still goes on, but the audio doesn't actually show up.
happened,
Gotcha.
man.
Oh, man.
But Rich from across the pond, you know, he was very excited when we interviewed Mike K, and he was like, thanks for not making me watch this show at some ungodly hour.
I will say, you know, he's talking about the disrespect. They did an all pro rookie thing, and they've got Bryce Young as the #1 quarterback on that. So there's some things, you know, I mean, there are people out there who have a belief in what we've done. I just think that most people are of the mindset that we are just maybe a year or two away from being,
and that's fine. And you know what? It's reasonable to have that position if you're not a Panther fan, right? I mean, it's like a fan is supposed to have the position that we're going to be disrespected, that we're going to be way better, and they just don't know enough about us. And then the rest of the world is going to say this: is you haven't done anything since 2017.
Well, you know what's going to make the league respect us, right? Win back-to-back seasons.
Nah. Well, I
win
wouldn't
back-to-back seasons, and then we'll get a little more
man.
respect.
It's going to take more than that. How about let's just start with winning?
Though. That's a start.
Hey, but you know what? You know what's going to allow us to be respected?
DeAndre Hopkins.
No,
I know where he's going with this.
Giving people what they want.
No.
Yeah,
These people come into this chat, and they like to hear us talk about Panther football. You know, they like to hear us and go back and forth on DeAndre Hopkins and whether or not we're going to be a playoff contender. They like to hear all that shit. But you know what? There's a whole lot of them who come here because they want to get shamed. And CK, we need to do that right now before they get even madder at us. So go ahead and talk to them, Big Papa.
Put them in their place.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, whether you're on YouTube, on Facebook, or on our new platform over on Rumble, I want to have some words with you. I'm going to talk to the Rumble folks. We have 17 people watching and only 2 total followers on Rumble. Or 10, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we have 80 people in YouTube. And how many likes do we have, guys?
Not enough.
Not enough. So I have one thing to say to all you absolute freaks. Subscriber shame.
You heard the man. On YouTube, we got 77 watching, 58 thumbs up. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time C3 Panthers Podcast goes live. We got a bunch of new content in the works for y'all before the start of this season. Some fantasy football stuff, some film room stuff. We got everything on deck for y'all. We're preparing for our biggest season yet. Be a part of it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time we go live. And if you're on Rumble, hey man, subscribe, follow us,
and get used to that shame. And there's going to be some more of that coming.
Yeah. Rumble while the voice that makes you moist. Rumble is them vocal cords.
We got to get Joey, who's going to be on in the calls in just a moment. We got to get him roaring on Rumble. That should be a bit for him. He should just create a channel that's roaring on Rumble. What is he roaring about today? Imagine Joey if the Panthers were the Cougars.
Yeah, he would have to make that high shrill sound instead of roar. Yeah. All right. Next call.
Hey, what's good, fellas? It's Corey calling in.
Well, Corey.
We got a little different call. I don't usually do this, but I want to go back a little because I don't usually like to harp on players that don't play for the Panthers anymore, but I want to talk about Christian McCaffrey specifically. It's the off season, so, fuck it, ain't much to talk about. But I was listening to the Stay Hot podcast recently, and they were ranking the top 10 running backs in the NFL. And they were talking about CMC, and they got them specifically. They were talking about how in Carolina, obviously he got used so much, he didn't really have a change of pace back, somebody who can, take, short yardage or, get him some rest. And obviously we know that. He played whatever the stat was, 97, 98% of the snaps. But the stats they read, man, I looked them up myself. They're if like, even as Panthers fans, if you watched all the games, they're still almost not even believable, man. Like, okay, so I'm gonna read some stats to y'all, and they're fucking mind-boggling. Obviously, Chris McCaffrey came in as a rookie. He was the number 2 back behind Jonathan Stewart. Came in the next year as the number 1 guy, had 219 attempts, 1,098 yards, 7 touchdowns, right? 219 rushing attempts. Next closest on the team was Cam with 101 attempts. The next closest running back was C.J. Anderson with 24 attempts on the entire season. All right, keep that in mind. Now we got 2019. Let me read to y'all. Hold on. 2019, we had Christian McCaffrey, his supernova season, right? 1,000, 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, 1,000 receiving yards. It was fucking crazy. 287 attempts rushing.
Yeah.
Next closest on the team, Kyle Allen had 32 rushing attempts. Curtis Samuel had 19. Reggie Bonifant was the next highest running back on the team with 16 rushing attempts on the entire season. And this is somebody who's getting 142 targets receiving. And this motherfucker, like, we had the nerve to call him injury prone. I'm surprised he didn't get hurt more, bro. This motherfucker was in 12-round prize fights every Sunday.
Yes,
he
was.
And we had him, like, listen, man, we had this motherfucker in the gulag. And my main point, I'm gonna run out of call, man. I'm running out of time. I only get a couple minutes. I'm gonna call back. I want to make a point. Give me a second call.
All right, we're gonna let you make that point, and but I want to talk about this. It was the Christian McCaffrey conundrum, and that is, how do you not go to him when you have nothing else?
Right.
Like, he's the best. It's like a Cam Newton conundrum. Like, I mean, think about that. You want to say that's wild? His second year, he had 218 carries. The wild part was Cam had 100.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was in the gulag too.
We had the honor. Go ahead.
I was saying, remember, that was the year that Cam Newton wasn't even playing, because it was Kyle Allen playing the whole season.
Yeah. But
the thing though with Christian McCaffrey is that, like, it was hard on a team like ours to not go to him every time. Like, right? I mean, like, you had an offensive line where nobody else could run behind it, and he actually could get something out of it. That was the real superpower that Christian McCaffrey had, is there was nothing there a lot of times, and he was getting good clips and putting up stuff. And it would just been like, man, I know people say, oh, you can replace running back stuff like production. But I was like, you can't put any running back there in some of those offenses. Then he was the best receiver on the team in so many ways. And it goes to it's almost like this is San Francisco is a great place for him, because it doesn't make any sense to take Christian McCaffrey off the field. Makes zero sense. He's one of the best players to be. Like, it's just like, if he's not hurt, and he ain't throwing up over there, why would you not have him on the field? But you don't have to go to him every play. And I think that's where San Francisco can do a lot of different things, is that they're
not as dependent on him.
But you don't have to give him the ball every time.
Right. But also, we had the honor of interviewing Jonathan Stewart. It feels like forever ago now.
Yeah.
It was last season.
I would have asked him more about Christian.
Well, I believe it was him who said, hey, if you have a Lamborghini or a Ferrari in the garage, how are you not going to drive it
exactly
like a Lamborghini and a Ferrari?
Particularly when you're some of those guys who are trying to keep their jobs too.
Right.
Is like imagine being the stupid ass offensive coordinator who's like in Carolina with no weapons. Like, we want to.
It was a lose-lose situation because, like as you alluded to, nowadays with San Fran, they're gonna give him the ball a lot, but they're not gonna force feed him the ball like the Panthers essentially had to. Like, he was the beginning,
Cam's hurt,
middle,
you know what I'm saying?
And end of the. And by the way, remember, we had Matt Rule. He didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Not that first year.
The only thing that he was able to do competently at all was to give the ball to CMC and let him pound.
Wasn't Cam hurt Christian's 2000 year?
Yeah, 2000. No, Christian's 2019 was his big year. That was Ron Rivera's
final year. Right?
No. He had one more year after that. Or halfway through the years when he got fired. The next
2020 was when Bridgewater and Matt Rule came in.
Wait a minute. So when was his best year? No, okay.
I thought it was
CMC was
2018, and then we cut Cam.
Yeah, that's what it was. 2017 was when he was drafted, and he was sharing carries with Jonathan Stewart. 2018 was the incredible year.
1,000.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, think about what the Panthers were that year.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, of course, like, they were only Christian McCaffrey in 2018 and 2019. There was nobody else. Nobody else on that team.
The art, and this is where I agree with the caller to a certain extent, is because, like, they kept Christian in when it was not necessary.
That is the thing. Yeah,
we were done for the year. Like, we with 5 or 6 games left in the year, there was no shot we were winning. Kyle Allen was showing he was not the guy. But the only reason Christian McCaffrey stayed in, and it might have been Christian McCaffrey wanting this, but it was to try to get that 1,000 season, and to break all these records that he was hoping to be able to break because he was having such an incredible year.
By the way, it was 2019 that he went for 1,000.
Well, he probably ended
after Cam.
It was the 2018 to 2019.
Well, but in 2018, I'm looking up the stats right now. He had 1,098 rushing yards, and he had 867 receiving yards.
Yeah, that's
that was in 2018.
Yeah,
now
that's what we said.
In 2019, he rushed for 1,387 and went for 1,005 receiving yards. So it's thousand.
Like a 25. So he didn't get 1,000. Then what was it? Just like 2 yards short the year before.
The year before he had 867 receiving yards.
With
Ron Rivera's final year,
40 yards off from 1,000.
Ron Rivera's
from a
final
2000 season.
Yeah, Ron Rivera's final year was Christian McCaffrey's best year.
Yeah, they had nothing else. All right, let's go to part 2 of the call.
All right, so part 2 of Corey's call. I was always one of the guys who thought, CMC, he may have been nicked up and he was sitting out these games. But if we were a better team and we had more of a chance, and I'm not saying he was doing this intentionally, but they were sitting him, right? But he would have played a lot more of these games if we were actually a better team. I truly believe that. But this fan base, I honestly feel like we should be ashamed with ever calling this man injury prone. It's unbelievable. The numbers here they're staggering. Like you're talking about, and I remember this used to be a topic on the podcast too, whether Christian McCaffrey's touches and his usage rate was correlation at all to him being injured. And Tony would be like, "Nah, you can't do that." Cody would be like, "Yes, da. But bro, we're talking about somebody who's getting as many receiving targets as DJ Moore and getting 287 carries on top of that.
Yeah,
you can't sit here and tell me that shit does not affect somebody's ability to stay on the field or how many hits they're taking and how it hurts. No other player, no other running back in the league has numbers like this. This is staggering. And listen, the CMC trade, I still think it was a good trade because at that point, the bed that we were in, that was the best option to go in, right? But CMC, we had my point of this call is this: we had A+ Tier 1 superstar level offensive weapon on our team, and we completely mismanaged them. We completely fucked the situation.
Agreed.
We made the best out of the situation that we were in this past off season with the trade, with getting the picks back and packaging and doing all this other stuff. But you can't sit here and tell me, watching him on San Francisco, it's a complete 180 of what it is at Carolina, right? At Carolina, he was the only guy to focus on, which is why you can't give the motherfucker the ball every single time and expect his numbers are going to be great, but you're going to end up being 5-11 because everybody knows what's going to happen. Now he's on the whole other side of it to where he's just got on this buku fucking talented offense, but he still shines. He's on this offense with an amazing line and Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, and he still shines. You give him the ball, and you could tell how important this guy is to affecting the game and affecting winning. Now, there's no real point to this call other than just pointing out how fucking terrible the Matt Rule era was. But it was just mind-boggling me to hear those stats, and it's like, bro, no other running back in the league had to deal with something like that, to where you had nothing. It was him and Cam, and then once Cam's body broke down, they threw him out the window, and then started to break down Christian McCaffrey's body. Like we completely fucked the situation. And honestly should make us a little bit more upset as fans. But, that's all I had to say, man. Keep kind of let me know what y'all think. Appreciate it.
I like the call. I like the subject for this time of year. So I love callers who kind of thank you, Corey, for that insight. It's a good talking point for us, too, in this time going forward now. And then thinking about how you're going to build your team in the future. I think you mentioned something earlier I think is really right on the money. And that is if the Panthers were better, I think Christian McCaffrey would have played through some of those injuries towards at some point.
Agree.
Like some of them were like they put him on IR because it was like, we know we're going to stink and this and that. He could have been better. And I used to say this is that if he was on the Chiefs, they wouldn't have put him on IR. They would have saved him for the playoffs.
Right.
And just let him get healthy.
Do you think that was a Panthers decision or that was the CMC decision?
I think that was a Panthers decision to put him on IR. It's like there's no once he got a hamstring injury and there's only, it's a 6-week recovery time and you're in 6 weeks, you're not going to be worth anything anyway. You might as well just IR him up and protect him as an asset at that point, which they did. And you saw that's why we went to another team. You didn't hear about some of those things. It's like, even if he would have had an ankle injury or something, I don't think we would have heard a lot about it. I think he would have forced himself to get out there in a team that was competitive. So I think the team was protecting him.
I have a slight argument to make with regard
even
to
though they
the
weren't.
fact that there's a lot of people who believe that he's going to be utilized less in San Francisco than he did in Carolina. Last year after the trade, they utilized him more than we did. He had more touches.
He's a horse, dude.
Yeah. He was going to start playing quarterback at one point in time.
Boy, run, man. Let him run.
From a rushing perspective, they had him rushing 14.45 times per game. We had him 14.16 times per game. Now, where they are using him more, where we were using him more, was in the passing game. In the total touches, like we used them in 19.66 touches per game. They used them 19.18 touches per game. So like they are legitimately doing the exact same shit we were. Like, I don't know why people are talking about him having a less of a workload. He had the exact same workload. Like there's no difference.
If Bryce Young ends up being the guy that we all want him to be and hope that he's going to be, he doesn't come here without Christian McCaffrey being traded. So it's all worth it, man.
Yeah,
it's all worth it.
I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah,
to be successful.
I mean, I'm rooting for him except for when he plays the Panthers.
Yeah. And Bryce Young's rookie year in the playoffs. What's up?
In the NFC Championship. What's up, CK? With DeAndre Hopkins. What's up?
Let's see it.
Hey, guys. It's the growl that makes him howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther. And my voiceover just told me the title of the podcast, do the Panthers have room for D-Hop? I don't think so, and I'm going to tell you why. I know people love D-Hop because he's supposed to be this, he's supposed to be this wonderful wide receiver, Hall of Fame caliber, and he might be all that, but you know what? I think it's time that we see what we have in these guys that showed flashes under Steve Wilkes and really haven't had the right coaching. And I really want
this is CK. This isn't dang.
What they would do. Guys like EMJ, guys like Laviska Shenault, even Shi Smith. Well, I want him to do good because I met his cousin at FanFest, and she was fine.
I told you this is the Cougars, man.
Yeah,
him on the Cougars, nobody be safe.
Don't want to give up really much of anything for a recycled veteran wide receiver who's got to get hurt because, I mean, he's been hurt, he's been hurt or suspended for most of last year. And I just want to develop the guys we've got. I don't think, how are you going to know when you have the league's next D-Hop if you waste money on trying to get the current D-Hop? You know what I mean? Like, any of the guys we got could be D-Hop in the future.
Any of these dudes could be the next D-Hop.
Anyway, guys.
It's a fair point.
Now, CK's point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Delay is getting longer and longer. I love it.
I mean, I don't disagree with him. I don't disagree with CK either, to the point that it's like, yeah, if you have, if you're only depending on Terrace Marshall Jr. and DJ Chark in a certain sense, yeah, they're going to have a lot better numbers because you have to go to them. But looking at this offense, I just think that if you add an elite wide receiver with this kind of quarterback and this kind of coach, I think that when you add him to all those other pieces, it just makes for one really powerful, potent offense. So
what's awesome about this, CK, is Cody is ruthless on me. Cody is ruthless. This guy is the guy for the last 3 years told us Terrace Marshall Jr. is gonna be awesome or whatever it is, and now he's like, "Fuck him, man."
Think so. I mean,
get him out of here.
No, I only say it that way if CK is making it like, well, it's one or the other, right?
I love this.
I'm saying, dude, Terrace Marshall Jr. I do feel like right now, if we started the season, our receiving core as is, I think he's wide receiver 1.
Cody's ready to be like, sorry, man, Terrace, I liked you, but there's not enough room in this core. Sorry.
Well, we gotta get D-Hop here, yo.
I don't know, dude. Man. Like I said, I would be excited if he got signed for a couple of reasons. I think it would bring a lot of eyes to the Panthers, and I think we would be talked about, and I think it would help the podcast, and our offense would look great, right? I'm not going to deny that. I think our offense would be better. I think that the risk versus the reward is going to be not worth the potential inability to give Brian Burns what he's going to be asking for.
Yeah.
All good points. We'd like to know your thoughts. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's go to Anthony in Charlotte.
What's up, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte.
Hope
y'all having a good day. Man, that new confidential got me hype as fuck, man. Obviously, you guys know I'm like the biggest Bryce Young fan on the planet besides for G-Baby. That was awesome. I'm so happy that he's on our team. Stuff to take away from that. Another thing about the blueprint I loved is, how they kind of asked him if he liked Jonathan Mingo. I think that's, that just shows that they already have so much faith in the kid, and he hasn't even stepped on the field that they're asking him about, like, guys in the draft that they may draft and what his opinion on that is. Like, that's awesome to see. And the last thing I do want to say is they were ready to take that left guard that Atlanta took a pick before us at 39. So what does this mean for Brady Christensen? Because I'm going to speculate here, but I think this means that they're trying to – the pick with Zavala they're trying to fill a left guard as a heavy run blocker next to Icky and probably keep Brady on the team as a long-term option when Moten, Moten's probably got like 2 more good years left. After that, that's probably Brady's spot to take over because he is a really, really good tackle. I mean, that's what we all knew. I mean, I know Cody Lashney and me, we knew that, that's where he should have always been playing. And then I'm going to end my call simply by saying this. What are y'all's thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins? I've come out and said, like, I would not want, like, someone asked me, like, if I, actually someone told me, like, we should, try to sign Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins. At first, obviously I don't want Dalvin Cook because I think Miles Sanders has top 7 running back potential in this league when giving the full workload. But for DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, I'm one of those guys in that camp where it's like, you can never not have too many receivers. And just because you don't know how these rookies are going to pan out, there's nothing wrong with giving DeAndre Hopkins a 2-year contract. I mean, if they're over here, like, okay with the cornerback room and edge room, then okay. But if they want to spend money on DeAndre Hopkins, I'm all for that because he's a proven guy. And especially a guy like Adam Thielen and Terrace Marshall, those guys would thrive off playing on the other side of DeAndre Hopkins because he's going to get double team looks. He's going to get certain looks, especially even when he's one-on-one. That's awesome. And I think he'd be a big help with Bryce Young. I mean, we've seen what Bryce Young can do with a top 10 draft pick in Jamison Williams. I know he's been suspended, but he's a phenomenal talent. So give me your thoughts. Anthony from Charlotte, keep motherfucking pounding.
Keep pounding, Anthony. So let's start with Christensen. When it comes to Brady Christensen, yeah, I mean, especially after you watch the blueprint, it really does seem like the plan in the future is to have Chandler Zavala playing left guard next to Ikem Ekwonu. Now, right now, they have him lining up at right guard whenever he's out there on the practice field. I don't know, man. I just have a real problem. Like, there's this term, and we talked about this, I think, last week or the week before, that you're a swing tackle, that maybe Brady Christensen could be a swing tackle. Well, that's a fancy way of saying you're a bench rider. Okay, you're not a starter on the fucking offensive line. And what I worry about, I mean, again, if they have it in their heart that they're going to play Chandler Zavala at left guard, then hey, I'm pulling it for him. I hope that the man is able to step in and do the damn job. But I think about last year, and I have no problem with the Kim Kwanu play on left tackle. But Brady Christensen did not do anything to lose that left tackle job. There was never any reports of him losing reps. There were some times and some video clips of him shutting down Brian Burns on pass rushes at left tackle. It just seems like there wasn't enough of a competition. Matt Rule and them had already made up their mind that they were going to play Christensen at left guard. I'm wondering if this coaching staff could do the same thing with Zavala and essentially force Christensen into being a swing tackle. I hope that the best man for the job ends up winning the job. I don't want them to just insert their favorite. If it's Christensen, I want it to be Christensen.
Or maybe they don't have to rush Zavala along as a rookie, right? Is allow him to grow into the position and get more reps and step in when there is a injury, right? I mean, thinking about that is like he would really have to be very good from day one to be the starter at left guard. Now, that's not saying that he couldn't grow into a very successful starting role quickly by learning on the job, but I don't even know if that was the wisest thing to do. And at the same time, too, this coaching staff and Scott Fitter don't think poorly of the guys they had on the team already. And that's one thing that they talked about when it comes to the offensive line. They glowed about the offensive line before they added any of these players, particularly Zavala in episode 3, right? When they get to the draft or whatever the last one we saw, the one where they're talking about free agency, you saw Frank Reich going, man, Bozeman, this guy can play. And then they met, and then, and he's saying that from me just kind of watching the tape on a quick rush and from afar what I've seen from him. And then you get Fitter repeatedly saying like, I think we have a good group, right? It's like you always need to keep growing that group, but he wasn't talking poorly about them. I think the problem with getting Christensen to the right tackle spot is unless Moten gets hurt right now and he kind of steps in there, will the years align properly where you see enough from him when it comes to contractually where it's time for you to make a decision?
The tough part about Moten's contract is I don't know that we're going to get rid of him before his contract's over.
Right.
There is no out that doesn't have us eating at least $12 million in cap hit, and that's assuming that we wait till his final year in 2025 to cut him. Like if we
have to get hurt or be very bad.
Yeah, like if we cut him this next offseason, it's still $24 million in dead cap for 2024 and then $12 million in 2025. It's still a pretty heavy hit for a guy like Taylor Moten. And I don't think he's bad enough to cut. And I just don't know that Brady Christensen is good enough to replace Taylor Moten right now.
And then by the time you do find out, it's going to be too late for it to really be here for Christensen. So that's the sad part about that. And timing is so important in the league. Timing is a real thing. Is did you get the opportunity to make your bones? So I don't think it's a done deal that Christensen isn't a starter in early time.
I think there's a good chance that he's right guard at the beginning of the year. I think that he could be put in the position to take over Austin Corbett's position because he's not going to be ready at the beginning of the year from all reports that we've gotten on the situation. So if Zavala is going to be able to come in and produce well because he's got a running mate in, Ike Ekwonu, then I think they're going to put him at the left guard position, like you said, Cody. And I think Christensen is going to get an opportunity at the right guard. And I don't think it's because Christensen lost the job. I think it's just, I feel like they probably would see that being the best situation for this offensive line this year, at least.
Let's go to the next call.
Yo, what's good, C3? This is JD.
JD, what up, bro?
I tuned into the show a little bit late, but I caught where y'all was talking about whether or not we should pursue D-Hop. And honestly, there's I can't think of how there's a positive and negative to us pursuing them. I agree with what Cody was saying. I agree with what CK and Greg was saying also. Wanted to say that, and I wanted to give a shout out to White Chocolate. It's been a hot minute since I laughed so hard that my core was hurting, and that the timing of that comment, bro, like I owe you a beer or something if I ever see you, my guy. That had me dying, man. But hey, y'all keep pounding. Love the show. I'm out.
My man
JD,
also,
keep pounding, bro.
My man also said, someone in the chat said CK needs to shame Kev, White Chocolate Espresso. And Kev comes back, you can't shame me. Like, there ain't no shame here. It's impossible. No shame.
He's a degenerate, just like his pops, you know.
Hey, it's White Chocolate Espresso.
Hey, there you go. Look at that.
You can't handle the truth. Right? So apparently Bryce Young has a partnership with Lowe's. And apparently Lowe's gifted Bryce Young a part of the NFL draft stage.
Oh, yeah.
Because Lowe's built the stage, right? Carolina Panthers are about to have a new stadium name. He just teamed up with Lowe's. I'm putting my tinfoil hat on. I think the new home for the Carolina Panthers is going to be Lowe's Stadium.
I've been saying
There's my thoughts. Peace.
Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Hell yeah, let's do it.
Hey, Kev, you're right. You are right. And I said this when I first heard the news that the naming rights were going to be up soon. Lowe's, they are based. Their headquarters is literally a couple blocks from the stadium. Like they are centered in Charlotte now. They are a Charlotte business. Lowe's Stadium, I mean, it might not roll off your tongue like Bank of America does, but hey, Lowe's Stadium, I feel like that's inevitable at this point.
Ooh, I don't know, dude. I look at Lowe's, and the thing is, I don't think Lowe's, the retail space, has the type of money that financial space has right now. Like, the retail space is reeling at this point in time. Like, brick and mortar stores are reeling. And they could just to try to maybe get, as a something to, potentially bring more business into them. I just don't think it moves the needle nearly enough for a company like Lowe's to name a stadium. But I could be wrong. I just don't think they have I don't think they have the ability to financially make sense to do that.
Well, if you are the Lowe's representative in Tepper's office, trying to get him to consider this different partnership that might not be the most lucrative from the beginning, you could say, hey, Lowe's, our company slogan is do it right for less. Start at Lowe's. That's what I would do.
I think you're
do
more
it right for
likely
less, Tepper. Come on. That's what mine would be like. Come on, give me this deal, Tep.
I feel like you'd be more likely to get Amazon to do it at this point. But if that wasn't a conflict of interest with their Thursday night football thing they got going on, I feel like if it was going to be a real retail store that did it, Walmart would have done it a long time ago if it was going to be possible.
Well, they just bought a team.
The Waltons did, but not the Walmart, as a sponsorship.
Yeah, I think that's coming down the road, though.
Maybe.
I mean,
I still have a feeling that it's going to be Lowe's. We will see, but I think they're the front runner.
But I love calling it the bank.
I do too.
What are we going to call it then?
I do too. I mean, I would prefer it to not change.
The concrete aisle? Like, what are we going to call it?
Yeah, the floorboard aisle.
Building fortifications.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have to. We got one more call.
C3 fam, I'm an Panther fan here. Great show so far. I joined late, so I haven't got too much of it. I'll watch the recap in the morning. As far as D-Hop, bro, that's a pipe dream. He ain't coming here. It's not that we don't have enough money, but, that room is like 8 receivers deep, and we're already going to have to start making cuts. So, I mean, I feel like we could get better players than D-Hop right now. I'm not saying that D-Hop isn't that caliber of player. However, we're needing the fit versus, the name. But anyways, C3, great to be on. Love y'all guys. Keep pounding.
Appreciate it, brother. I mean, hey, man, move LaVisca Chenault to running back. Get rid of Demir Bird, maybe Shi Smith. I'm not even going to argue which one. And, it's a non-issue, man. Plus, I disagree. Who's better right now on the free agent market? Like, even if another need is bigger at a certain position, they're not the level of player that D-Hop is. Maybe Marcus Peters, but I don't know.
The argument is, what is the bigger need? I don't think we need wide receiver more than we need a cornerback.
I think you're right, CK. I think that is what it all comes down to be honest with you. Like both sides of the argument are very good. I still would love to sign D-Hop, but I understand what you're saying. But I think that's what it all comes down to. Like, period.
Like, we just don't need D-Hop. Like, he might elevate this, but we don't need him.
How many more games do you think we win with D-Hop if we were to get him is the question. Cody.
We'd have to go through and probably
the
do
biggest one of the year, the Super Bowl.
Do you think signing D-Hop gives us 2 or 3 games for real?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's possible.
I feel like that's a pretty steep number. Like, I think a 1-game swing is probably expected.
Then if it's one, if it's one, then you're right, CK. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But
I just think it's
2 or 3.
I think with what we have with Bryce Young, he isn't like historically he doesn't stare down one receiver, right? He spreads the ball, and like you said, it might open up other receivers, so that could be that type of an impact. But I also think that when you start to see his speed is slowing down a little bit, he's not nearly the same receiver he was, 5 years ago, for that matter. I think that it's hard to be able to say that is going to be more than a game. Like I said, I think he's still good. I don't think he's a bad wide receiver. I just think if we're going to sign somebody, you've got to look at the biggest holes on this team, and it's not our offense right now.
All right. I mean, that's the C3 Panthers podcast. I don't think we got anything else. We're not really got a lot of news to talk about, but we do have one more segment. The longest running.
We have one more thing before. Do you want to show the shirt?
Oh no, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
We got some other things. And not that's a problem. We're gonna put these all out at one point. I gotta get some other things right. We'll talk about it.
Gotcha.
But we do have one more segment to rock on the longest running Panthers podcast on the internet. It's the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast. Now on Rumble. Check us out on Twitter's, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitchers, wherever you get your information. We are at. We need your support. Smash the thumbs up button.
That's it.
We'll be in Spartanburg in a month at Monster Subs, hanging out with Muscles Marinara, getting ready for this season going forward. We'll be here every Tuesday night, Friday night, free for all. But now we got to ice some fools up. Cody, let's get them. It's cold in here.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
It's our moment it's our homage to Steve Smith, where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up, to get it together. Anyone is fair game. This is a time where we really step around the world, into the sports world, and also into the real world and the fake world of the internet at times, to ice some people up. I've got 3, so if anybody's got multiple and we want to ping pong, I'm ready. But I'm locked in, loaded.
I'm going to go first just because I only have one.
Okay.
If anybody's been following this whole deal with Zion Williamson.
Oh, this is always a fun story.
Dude, I don't have a lot to add to the story. No, let's just say my man Zion was getting around, right? And there's this one chick in particular who has now been banned on Twitter, who is threatening to release a porn video, is like basically airing out all of Zion's dirty laundry. Well, hey, I'm just going to say it. This bitch is certified psycho, bro. How about this chick?
Oh, it's the same girl?
Yeah, it's the same girl.
This is wild.
Decides I'm gonna get Zion's name tattooed on my cheek
to show commitment, you know?
No, she can now go on social media and not be banned because she's not saying Zion. She just tattooed. What are you
talking
gonna,
about your tattoo?
she's not even talking about her tattoo. She'll just be like, let's talk about shitty dudes in the planet and then have this
You're gonna go out of your way to trash this man, air him out, all of his dirty laundry, and then get his name tattooed on you, bro. I believe the real AP hit the nail on the head. She belonged to the streets, bro. Ice up, son. Ice up.
So dumb.
What I love about this Zion story is that he was, before we knew about all this, just like a year ago or whatever, you know, it's like he's had some injuries. He's, you know, unavailable in the beginning. But there was this one point where it's like, yeah, he just doesn't really want to play right now.
There was kind of a feeling of that, right?
Like he was just like, oh, he'd just rather hang out at home. And now we know why, because he was just making sex videos. And like he's like, I'd rather just be at home, guys. I'm just not feeling
hitting up Instagram thoughts and porn stars and shit.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else got one?
I have one, but I'll let you go first, Greg.
Yeah, mine's just real quick. I can't really say a lot of the ice up picks that I would normally have on here, so I'll just ice up YouTube for just their censorship and everything that's on there to say. Look, we've got the show on Rumble as well as YouTube now. I would recommend, you know, it's just a new streaming service. Go check out Rumble. First night on Rumble, 18 viewers all the way to the end of the show live in the chat room and 122 overall views. Plus we had donations. So it's a new streaming platform, or not new. It's actually been around for a while, but it's becoming more popular. Make an account, you know, activate it and go check it out. It's way different than YouTube. That's all I can say.
All right. Rumble in the jungle. Ice up. Ice up. I don't want to say their name too long.
So I'll go with mine, and that way Tony can wrap up with his three. I hate that it always goes political, but it's so easy. It's so easy.
It is. It is.
So my man Joe Biden had a video come out recently where
another Biden one
makes this is the thing. He says it's in jest. It is cut up like to where it's cut off before he can say it's a joke. But the claim is that he openly admits to selling state secrets, right? He said, but it's like in the most, he says he's joking, but it's also Biden being like the most, a part of me is starting to get uncomfortable with how bad this is getting. Because like it does feel like elderly abuse at this point in time. But
we have video of this.
Yeah, it's just not on this. I don't know where I didn't, you know,
we probably get cut for it anyway. So what did he say?
Well, basically he said that he was basically saying that he openly admitted to selling state secrets. Like that's what he was saying. But there's a lot of people who are taking that as like his admission, but he's saying that he did it in jest and that he was only kidding, right? The problem with this, and this is why it's an ice up, he is doing this after everything that just happened with his son and that new report that just came out saying that his dad was in the room while he was trying to get all this shit happening and using his dad's power as leverage, right? Yeah. Like you can joke. I have no problem with that. But you've got to read the fucking room. You have every single one of your officials refusing to answer questions about Hunter Biden and that statement that he made in that text message. But
Trump is going to have a field day with this. Trump is like, I got this.
But
bro.
You're going to come in here and say that? Are you kidding me?
Thank you, Dopey.
Did you see the one? It was him and Kamala Harris, and he pretty much let the cat out the bag. Like you can tell he wasn't supposed to say it. Like, oh yeah, if the Democratic Party wants to go in a different direction, I'll say that I got an illness and I'll stand down. Like, and because they're already terrified that. And by the way, this is not a political opinion. Like, look it up in the news. Democrats are terrified that Joe Biden's going to lose. That he can't do this again. So they're already talking about potential replacements, all this other crap, dude. It's such a shit show.
Hold on, I'll get the video, but I just love all of the.
I think we'll get demonetized for it though if it's a news one. Yeah.
Well, if it's just like
if it's on any of the major news channels, yeah, for sure they will.
What if it's on TikTok or something?
Probably because it comes from somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, but basically his statement was this. It was hold on, let me get it back down here to it. Where was it? He said I started off without you, and I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared. And then they're laughing, and then he says, now all kidding aside, we're teaming up to design and develop new technologies. So he does acknowledge that he's kidding, but again, even if it is kidding, if it wasn't just an accidental slip up, which I could believe is the case, because when you listen to it, it is just jibber jabber. Like it's just horrible, like just awareness of your circumstances.
It's actually not. It's horrible awareness. It's unaware. Like that's the point. Like about Biden right now is that he's a shill.
He's honestly somebody, and there's reports that his
somebody's holding him up on a stick.
Right, and there's reports that Hunter is sleeping in the room with him because he's just like needing to help take care of him physically. Like I'm just like at this point in time, I'm just not like it's just so much that is concerning, and I don't know. It's just
they can't run him against Trump and win. They know that. That's why they.
Dude, I don't think Trump could beat any other Democratic. I think it needs to be another person other than any. Like, there's so many better candidates than Trump or Biden. Like,
Agreed.
So many more other better candidates.
Correct. But the problem is you got to beat one, and they're scared. All of them scared.
Well, the latest thing is they're talking about RFK being on the ballot with Trump. How crazy would that be? Like, how crazy would that be?
As a running mate?
Yeah, I feel like we're making a movie at this point.
People are just picking the most absurd bullshit.
It's insane. Yeah, that's insane.
All right, so ice up to that. All right, so my ice up is gonna go. I got 3 quick ones, or not. I don't even know if they're quick. Let's see if we can share window. I snip this one. So this is a tweet that Mike Freeman, and Mike Freeman is a writer and I don't even know what site he's with right now, but he's a African American journalist, and he's always been interested in where politics and life and sports coexist, and pretty probably I would just say public opinionated when it comes to politics, just in his own life a little bit, right? So nothing, but he always has he'll post these kind of wild emails that he'll get from people, right? And so he posts this one, and then I think about this is the dummy that sends an email to somebody, and they say where it's like from their personal email or from their work email. Like, so Michael Pa, right, whoever this guy is, he sends Mike Freeman an email and says, "We all know Negroes dominate the more athletic sports.
Oh my God.
It ain't rocket surgery." I just wish, and then it goes on to say some very racist stuff like about, I just wish they stopped murdering people, blah, blah, and so he's like race, making this big racial statement, right? And he's like, and just railing on an entire race of people and just lumping everybody together. And he goes, "It ain't rocket surgery." So I wonder, can we go major in rocket surgery?
I don't know.
Like, can we get a job? It's called engineer. Is it called engineering? Is it
what do you think doctors are going to be in the
Chappelle
future?
would call it scientist.
What do you think doctors are going to be?
That's what the boys over at Lockheed Martin do every single day. They do
That's an AI
rocket
surgeon.
surgery.
That's what it is. He'd be like, man, I'm an AI surgeon. I operate on AI. Who knows? What a dummy. I mean, you know, it's like it's crazy when you're so dumb that it takes away from the most like bigoted kind of.
But also, why did he feel the
somebody.
need to email this
Right
to Michael Freeman?
Right. So I guess
like,
that's
what was the point?
It's like a drunk dial. That's what it sounds like. Like a drunk dial
But it's
email.
an email.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Where does this other one go?
You almost want to say that email is fake, like just like somebody's just, you know.
You hope it's fake, but you
Yeah.
know it's probably not.
Because it's just so dumb. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just so
Well, I
dumb.
mean, it's so dumb. Here, this one I like. Let's lighten the mood a little with this one. This is fun. Is this blocker charge right here?
That's charged.
Oh,
Oh, she wasn't set. That's definitely.
But also,
definitely a block.
what did this 5'2", 100-pound girl think that she was gonna do to keep the fucking seal in the tank?
That's the
Like,
oh,
come on, girl. Like,
yeah.
give me
So
a
I
break,
up to
man.
that, and then this one got me tickled. And I it said sleep for 8 hours, work for 8 hours. Oh no, did I got the wrong one? All right, let me see if this is the wrong one because there were so many good comments. I don't know if I got the comment or it says sleep for 8 hours, work for 8 hours. That's only 14 hours out of 24. You still have 10 hours to cook amazing meals, work out, learn a language, and walk on the beach. Time is not the issue. So 16. Somehow, this guy's math is just out the rails here, right? And then all the questions are all the responses in this were like, but not enough hours to learn math. This was funny to me. So ice up this whole, and then somebody said that's only 14 hours. Like, and then the people, the comments in here, are just glorious. So this is the best part about the internet when somebody's giving you life advice. They can't add up the hours in the day. They make ice up. That's no rocket surgeon right there. If I've ever seen one, that person. That's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night into the wee hours of Wednesday morning, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinion from the fan perspective. A lot of training camp coverage coming. We'll be there in 1 month, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So let's make this a communal event and have fun while we're there. Cody Lack, a lot of debating going on in your life, from embracing it to hosting the Friday free for all. How can they find your work on the intranet?
Yeah, man, I sure do fight a lot, don't I? I'm always getting into some kind of crap. But hey, man, every Friday at 7 p.m., Friday free for all. That's the show for Panther fans, by Panther fans. You can be a part of that show. Join via StreamYard, just like we're talking right now. Monday at 10:30, me, Desmond Johnson, and Monty Fetty do Embrace Debate Carolina Panthers. That's been really fun. We've been getting into that. And yeah, man, every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. here with my boys doing the C3 Panthers podcast. Find me on Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. And yeah, that's it for your boy. Holla at me.
Greg, you're out.
Man, find me at the Bad Daddy 52 on Twitter is my personal handle, or check out my other show on YouTube or Rumble or any podcatcher of your choice. We go live Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. Talking about stuff like Strange New Worlds from Star Trek, if you're into that kind of stuff. Secret Invasion, Jack Ryan's coming up. The new Witcher season's coming up. Flash. We've got all kinds of coverage of all kinds of different things: books, movies, television shows, good stuff. So check us out.
Speaking of big TV show recommendation for you guys, I had not heard of it. Maybe you guys have. Sprung.
Mm-hmm. What is it?
It's a Freevee show. It's on Freevee. It's only going to be one season. I think it was like a limited. It didn't feel like it is incredible, dude. It's comedy, and it's about them letting some criminals out during COVID who were nonviolent offenders, and they kind of have to navigate this kind of bizarre time of learning about COVID, trying to figure things. It's hilarious. It's called Sprung. I found it. It's on Freevee. Is a Freevee original. CK, where can they get after you?
You can get me on social media at Twitter at CodeDizzleAllen. We'll be trying to work on figuring out what we're doing, the Madden simulation. The new Madden doesn't drop until August, so there is a going to be a learning curve there. So we'll try to figure out some stuff. We're going to try to get some simulations of the season out, things like that. But again, trying to figure out what we want to do there. But yeah, just hit me up on Twitter in the meantime.
Let's get out of here, Cody.
You'll see this in the chat. It's funny.
C3 Panther Nation. Until next time, keep pounding.